Native to the Americas, armadillos are the only surviving members of the Cingulata order, and their closest extant relatives are sloths and anteaters. There are 21 extant species of armadillo, the vast majority of which can only be found in South America. 2 species can be found in Central America, and just a single species, the 9-banded armadillo, has made its way up into North America. Armadillos range in size from the adorable pink fairy armadillo, which only measures 15 centimeters in length, to the giant armadillo, which, as its name suggests, is quite large and can measure up to 1.5 meters in length, including its tail. They are part of the Xenarthra superorder, and like their anteater cousins, their diet is made up primarily of invertebrates, with some species specializing in ants and termites. Species like the 9-banded armadillo will even eat carrion if they have to. In order to extract said ants and termites from their various mounds and hills, they have long, powerful claws. In addition to this, they have long, sticky tongues, which they use to pick up ants, termites, and other small invertebrates. The various species of armadillo are most commonly described by the number of bands that they have in their armor. These bands are attached to one another with flexible tissue, and the more bands an armadillo has, the more flexible they are. Though it does come at a cost: security. The South American 3-banded armadillo is the only species of armadillo able to roll up into a ball to protect their soft underbellies. When attacked, every other species prefers to run and hide, rather than relying on their armor as their first line of defense. As their last line of defense, armadillos will use their long, sharp claws. Their iconic armor is made of dermal bone plates, which are covered with little scale-like bones called scutes. Armadillos are susceptible to leprosy due to their low body temperature, which, incidentally, is the same as human skin, 34 degrees Celsius. Because of this, armadillos are vectors for the disease. In fact, leprosy didn't exist in the Americas before the Europeans got here, meaning that armadillos got leprosy from humans, and now they're giving it back to us. In the southern states, at county fairs, it's not uncommon to see an armadillo race. They're not great. The handling of armadillos at these less-than-okay races and in other human-armadillo interactions has seen a rise in leprosy being transmitted to humans.
Weeks ahead of time, the armadillos get in shape for the race at secret training camps. We were permitted to see just a few of the vigorous exercises and top-secret training techniques.
Many species of armadillo are quite decent in the water. They can either hold their breath and walk along the bottom, or some species, like the 9-banded armadillo, will swallow a bunch of air and become buoyant. This fills their stomach and intestines, and it makes swimming much easier for them. 9-banded armadillos also have a quirky habit of jumping in the air when startled. They can jump up to 1 meter high, which is unfortunately why they get hit by cars so often. 9-banded armadillos were the only successful armadillo in the United States, primarily due to their high reproductive rate. They regularly give birth to quadruplets. The pink fairy armadillo is the smallest and objectively cutest armadillo. They're about the same size as a squirrel and have highly flexible leather armor with 24 bands. They're primarily nocturnal and dig burrows. This behavior has led them to be classified as a subterranean armadillo. Giant armadillos are the largest and can be found all over South America except in Uruguay. Despite their large size, they prefer small prey, their favorite being ants and termites, of which they can eat an entire colony in a single sitting. They dig very large burrows, which after they vacate tend to be used by other animals. Unfortunately, giant armadillo populations are decreasing due to habitat destruction and hunting. The loss of the giant armadillo from their ecosystem will have a cascading effect, as other animals will lose their habitat engineers. The screaming, hairy armadillo is quite possibly the greatest named animal. Its entire body, including its armor, is covered with scraggly little hairs, making them look like coconuts on legs. They can be found in Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay. They are excellent diggers and tend to live in habitats with loose, diggable soil. Oh, and they scream when they're frightened. There are 5 species of snapping turtle across 2 genera, Macrocheles and Calidra. Hail Calidra. Calidra contains the common snapping turtle, the Mexican snapping turtle, and the South American snapping turtle, while Macrocheles contains the alligator snapping turtle and the Suanese snapping turtle. These turtles are all quite large, and they're only found in the wild in the Americas. While the 2 genera do share similar characteristics, they aren't very closely related, and only share a name due to their similar behavior. The snapping. I said the snapping. Damn it. I can't do it, guys. I've done this. I've tried my whole life. I can't snap my fingers. That's it. Alligator snapping turtles are the larger of the 2, measuring up to 66 centimeters long and in extreme cases, weighing up to 100 kilograms. Though these massive numbers come from turtles in captivity, and in the wild, an average adult male will only weigh up to 40 kilograms. Common snapping turtles, on the other hand, are much smaller. They measure up to 45 centimeters long, and in the wild, weigh up to 16 kilograms. Alligator snapping turtles are tanks. Once they reach a certain size, they become immune to most predators. Only particularly large gators are powerful enough to crack their shells. They certainly do their namesake justice. Alligator snapping turtles have claws the length of human fingers, highly ridged carapaces, and sharp triceratops-like beaks, which they use to tear into prey. To hunt, alligator snapping turtles have a vermiform tongue, a tongue that resembles a worm meant to attract dumb fish. The turtle will sit at the bottom of the river or lake with its mouth wide open. It lays absolutely still, except for its tongue, which it wiggles around, mimicking a worm. There, it waits for a fish to swim by that is dumb enough to swim right into their mouths. Their bite is fast and strong enough that if they don't swallow the fish whole, they're sure to decapitate them. They'll eat anything they can catch, and their diet is made up primarily of fish, but they also eat birds, small mammals, baby gators, and other turtles. There is a lot of misinformation out there about the strength of an alligator snapping turtle's bite. Some cite them as having a bite as strong as an alligator. They don't. In reality, their bite is much closer to the strength of a human, which is plenty, especially when combined with that beak. They have enough power to take off a finger. Yet despite this vicious appearance, they are quite chill, unlike common snapping turtles, which are much more aggressive. This may be due to their different hunting strategies. Alligator snapping turtles are ambush hunters, while common snapping turtles are chase hunters. Though it could also be due to their size. A fully grown alligator snapping turtle has few predators, while the much smaller common snapping turtle is more often on the defense. While alligator snapping turtles are more intimidating in almost every single regard, the common snapping turtle has the more fearsome tail. Their long tails have a series of bony plates that give them a sawtooth appearance. Their tails look a lot more like dragon tails than their beefy, smooth-tailed cousins. Despite being chase hunters, common snapping turtles are pretty terrible swimmers, preferring to walk along the bottom. They spend the majority of their lives in the water, only ever leaving when basking or laying eggs. In fact, they spend so much of their time in the water, they can often be seen with full heads of hair, their hair being algae. They live in large bodies of water, but they can also be found in smaller ponds. They prefer to hang out in areas shallow enough that they can sit with the tips of their noses sticking out of the water. The most vulnerable point in a snapping turtle's life is when they first hatch. They break out of their ping-pong ball-like eggs towards the end of the summer. Often, the entire litter will hatch at the same time. Then, it's a mad rush for these dark, toonie-sized turtles to get clear of the beach and into the water without being eaten. Once they're in the water, they're not home safe. Only the luckiest of the lucky survive to be big enough to ward off predators. Alligator snapping turtles are currently threatened due to overharvesting for meat, the exotic pet trade, and habitat degradation. Though the situation for snapping turtles is better than it was 70 years ago. For a long time in Canada and in the United States, turtle soup was a mainstay at restaurants. It was praised for its complexity of flavors. But as turtle numbers plummeted and indoor plumbing negated the need to go to creeks and rivers for fresh water, it became unprofitable to go out and look for turtles. At the same time, factory farming of chickens, cows, and pigs became commonplace, and turtles transitioned from being seen as a food species to being seen as cute and benevolent creatures. Hope Swinimer runs an animal sanctuary and rehabilitation center called Hope for Wildlife in my home of the east coast of Canada. Today, we're talking all about marmots.
They're a cool little animal. A lot of people don't understand them or know a whole lot about them. And people are fearful of them. We laugh every year when we get those phone calls. There's a groundhog in my yard. What should I do?
Marmots are a genus of ground squirrel, which includes the groundhog, and they're famous for their ability to tell humans when they can stop wearing their winter coats.
For every Groundhog Day, or February 2nd, the weather was listed. If it was fair, the groundhog would have seen his shadow. And if it was cloudy, he couldn't have seen his shadow. But shadow or not, the temperature never varied more than 2 degrees from normal. The groundhog had nothing to do with spring weather.
They thrive in foothills, valleys, and meadows, and can be found in areas with long, cold winters, with no available food for most of the year. Marmots can't live in dense forests because they don't provide the variety of herbs, grasses, and fresh-growth plants they need to survive. Their golden age was the Pleistocene, when glaciers covered most of Eurasia and North America, and marmots lived just south of the ice barrier. But as the ice melted and forests grew, marmots had to move to treeless mountaintops and steppes. Of the 15 recognized marmot species, only 2 live in plains, the steppe marmot and the groundhog.
So we see everything here at Hope for Wildlife, from bald eagles to owls to all the birds of prey. We usually only see the groundhogs in the summer because they're busy sleeping through the winter. And there are herbivores, and so families don't really need to worry too much about children and interactions. So I'll show you how I was doing it last night, and it was working, although I did get a lot over me and a lot over the animal, but that's okay.
In the summer, marmots eat as much as they can to put on as much weight as possible. This is their way of storing energy for the winter. Over a summer, adult marmots can double their weight, and in some cases, they can weigh over 13 kilograms, about the same size as a French bulldog. When it gets too cold for plants to grow, marmots will go into their burrows and hibernate until their food is available again. To save energy, their metabolism slows down. Their heartbeat goes down to 5 beats per minute, and they breathe only once every 20 seconds. Some species can hibernate for up to 9 months. Having a very short feeding and growing season means that babies need at least 2 summers to reach maturity. They hibernate with their moms during the first winter and are ready to leave after a year. Sharing burrows has led to marmots living in social groups. In most marmot species, female marmots stay with their mothers for at least 3 years, helping them take care of their newborns. European marmots, like the alpine marmot, are the most social species. They live in multi-generational colonies with a dominant mating pair. Up to 20 individuals can live in a single burrow. At 3 years of age, the males leave to try to mate with females from other colonies. North American marmots live in smaller social groups. It's usually just one male and a couple of reproducing females and their daughters. The young become independent after 1 or 2 summers. The only solitary marmot in the world is the groundhog, found in North America east of the Rockies. They hibernate on their own, and their young leave after just 1 summer. They're also very territorial, and fights for prime real estate are common. Living in big groups has lots of advantages. Huddling together helps them conserve heat in the winter, and when they're out in the summer, the whole family keeps an eye out for predators.
Anything that's a carnivore, it's a predator. Foxes, bobcats, a lot of the mammals that would hunt meat.
At the first sight of danger, a quick series of high-pitched calls sends everyone sprinting for safety.
To avoid a predator, they will run and get down into their holes because they really do want to run away.
But living in close quarters can be dangerous. Males fight for territory and for access to females. These furry gladiators really duke it out in some of the most intense and silly battles in the animal kingdom.
I ain't trying to fight no more. We be beefing, we be beefing always. I don't wanna then you claim that you okay. Let me poke it, stopping, someone backing down. Oh, be trying to wear the crown. I ain't trying to. We be beefing always. I don't wanna.
In social species like the alpine marmot, when new males take over a territory, they kill all the pups. This lowers the hibernation costs for females and makes them more likely to reproduce successfully the following year. Groundhogs, being the hermits of the family, have a different problem. The pups are fully dependent on their mom. If something happens to her, they might not survive.
They're making noises. I was talking to them all the way here. So.
Oh my gosh. They're cold as ice, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh. So sadly, 4 days ago, a pest control officer was hired to remove a groundhog that was digging up someone's paver stones, and they didn't check for babies. And 4 days later, the gentleman hears the sound and investigates. These guys have to be just born. That poor mom, she must be so upset. I don't know. I remember that day really well. I was amazed that they were still alive, and they had some life left in them, so we started our emergency care right away, and it just was one of those really happy stories.
Pretty tired. I'm glad they're all together.
The Vancouver Island marmot is one of the rarest animals in the world, and one of the most critically endangered animals here in Canada. In 2003, there was only 30 Vancouver Island marmots left in the wild. Thankfully, the Marmot Recovery Foundation has been having a lot of success bringing this adorable species back from the brink. Their numbers have increased dramatically over the last 20 years, and now there are over 200 living in the wild.
There's so many ways to live comfortably with nature, and I think we've become fearful and, we lack knowledge in a lot of cases, so I really feel it's our job to get people reconnected.
Today, we're out here in the vast and beautiful Algonquin National Park, looking for something pretty special. You don't see them very often, but they're iconic here in Canada. We are looking for the very elusive moose. The first thing you notice when you see a moose up close is how massive they are. They are absolute units. Moose are the largest deer in the world, and the largest land animal in Europe and North America. The largest subspecies, the Alaskan moose, can weigh up to 700 kilograms and are 2 meters tall at the shoulder, not including their antlers. When they stand on their hind legs to forage for tree leaves, they can reach branches 4 meters off the ground. And And you know what they say about tall moose? They have big old antlers. A bull moose's antlers are about 1.5 meters across, while the larger Alaskan subspecies have even larger antlers, measuring up to 1.8 meters wide. They're the only deer that have palm leaf-shaped antlers as opposed to twig-like antlers. They use these massive antlers both as tools for sexual selection and as a defense mechanism against predators. New research suggests that they might even improve a moose's hearing by functioning as a parabolic reflector, like a satellite dish for sounds. Having big antlers increases the moose's chances to reproduce, as they're less likely to be challenged by males with smaller antlers. And the most amazing thing about their antlers is that they need to grow a new pair every year. Moose shed their antlers every winter. They're cumbersome, heavy, and radiate a lot of heat, so they have adapted to be antler-free during the colder months. In spring, the new pair starts growing. The size depends on the bull's testosterone levels. Younger males have smaller antlers, but they keep getting larger every year until they're about 13 years old. After that, the moose become elderly and the antlers begin to shrink. A healthy bull's antlers are some of the fastest growing tissues in the animal kingdom. They can grow up to 20 centimeters a week. Moose populations have been steadily declining in this southern part of their range, but here in Algonquin Park is one of the last places that we're still pretty likely to see one. These look like really fresh moose tracks, and I don't mean the ice cream. I have a feeling that we're treading the ground of a path that a moose took. Their antlers grow from spring until about September. They have thousands of tiny hair follicles that give them a velvety texture. The velvet will stay on until September, when it starts to fall off. The moose will rub their antlers on trees to help remove the velvet. When doing this, they strip the bark off of trees, a process that results in the moose looking rather frightening. This velvet is attached to a layer of skin, and skin is fed by blood. So you can imagine that when they're rubbing their antlers hard enough against trees to strip bark, they are stripping the skin off of their antlers. It is a bloody mess. This behavior gives them their name, moose, which is derived from the Eastern Abenaki word mos, or the Narragansett word moose or musu, variously translated as twig eater or he who strips, referring, of course, to the bark. In Europe, moose are known as elks because of their Latin name, alces. By winter, their antlers fall off completely. They're full of calcium, phosphorus, and other minerals, and provide a lot of nutrition to smaller mammals, such as squirrels and porcupines. White and albino moose have beautiful white antlers and are called spirit moose. They are protected in Canada, and they're considered a sacred creature by Native communities. Because of their size and their antlers, these heavyweights have very few predators. The only animal capable of regularly taking down a bull moose is the Siberian tiger. Here in North America, juvenile, sick, and elderly moose are targeted by bears, wolves, and cougars. But a healthy adult moose is generally untouchable. Their size not only protects them from predators, it also keeps them safe from a far more dangerous threat, the Canadian winter. Moose are built for the cold. They have very thick skin, a warm coat, and a low surface-to-volume ratio which prevents them from losing too much heat. Their long, skinny legs allow them to walk and run in deep snow, oftentimes much deeper than it is possible for predators, such as wolves, to survive. Okay, so we've been following along these moose tracks, and what it led us to so far is a big old pile of poop. Exciting. When it gets hot, moose struggle. In especially hot summers, moose lose their appetite, and this might prevent them from gaining enough weight to survive the following winter. To cool down on a hot summer day, they go swimming. This also helps them get rid of parasites and to hide from horseflies. They can swim up to 10 kilometers in a day, and they can hold their breath underwater for up to 30 seconds. Moose spend so much time in cool ponds that they have adapted to eat water plants, such as lilies and water weeds. When foraging for food underwater, they are even able to close their nostrils. They're the only deer known to do this. Water weeds are an important source of nutrition for moose, as they require a high nutrient and low fiber diet. Moose need a very specific mix of plants to have a balanced diet. Eating too much fiber can kill them. This is one of the reasons moose haven't been domesticated on a large scale, as amazing as that fantasy would be. If they're fed hay, it gets stuck in their bellies. In one particularly tragic case, a moose starved to death with 100 kilograms of hay in its intestines. It was completely stuck and there was no room for it to digest new food. While northern populations are stable, southern moose populations are crashing. Moose numbers have been halved in southern Ontario and Cape Breton in the past 10 years. There are several reasons for this. The first is climate change. Summers are becoming too hot for moose to endure, and winters don't always provide enough snow for young moose to be safe from predators. The second is even deadlier. White-tailed deer. They're extremely cute, but carry lots of parasites that moose are not equipped to deal with. As roads, human activity, and climate change allow white-tailed deer to expand their range northward, they're introducing pathogens such as liver fluke and meningeal worms to moose. Respectively, these can cause moose to die from liver failure and go blind and starve to death. This tree here looks like a pretty good and pretty fresh example of bark stripping from a moose. Moose will often rub themselves up against trees with their antlers and their whole body to remove parasites like ticks or for marking their territory. Deer ticks and winter ticks can have a devastating effect on moose. On top of severe blood loss, they cause extreme itchiness. Moose try to deal with this by scratching themselves on trees, but sometimes they do it so violently that they lose parts of their coat and end up getting deep cuts and bruises. Without a coat, moose are likely to suffer frostbite in the winter, and the cuts become infected, leading them to an almost certain death. It seems that moose should be able to tolerate a couple of ticks on their body. But, in some cases, they've been found to have over 100,000 ticks on their body at the same time. Moose population controls are ongoing, but as the weather changes and deer multiply, it becomes harder and harder to save the mighty moose.
Oh, wait.
You're lying.
No, look. Let me zoom in.
I'm gonna look in the camera.
All right, come here, look.
Just going for a snack. I mean, looks like he's having a good dinner. It's the end of the day. None of us thought that we were going to see anything. We were ready to go home. It's even started raining and the sun is setting, and then there was a moose. One of my favorite things about making Animalogic is getting to film in the wild. Exploring an animal's environment is an amazing experience, as you learn not only about the animal you're looking for, but also all of the other animals in its ecosystem. We shot a lot of this episode on location in Algonquin Park. While looking for moose, we ran into snakes, deer, and we even saw fresh bear tracks. Not to mention the thousands and thousands of mosquitoes. Today, we're having a frosty time in Jasper looking for elk. The Canadian Rockies. A vast mountain range, surrounded by thick forests, glaciers, and Great Plains. This challenging ecosystem is home to the most iconic Canadian mammals. Moose, beaver, and grizzly bears can be found here, just a stone's throw away from each other. But the real king of these mountains actually wears the crown. Today we're in Jasper National Park, and right behind me is an entire herd of one of the largest species of the deer family, the elk. Cervus canadensis are commonly known as elk, but in Europe, moose are also called elk. To avoid confusion, we can call them Wapiti, which is the Shawnee and Cree word for them. Regardless of what you call them, they're second in size only to the massive moose. Those pomade-antlered giants can be up to 800 kilograms, but the Wapiti is not far behind, tipping the scale at about 600 kilograms. The bulls can be about 30% larger than the females, with massive lads. They're so big and grow so fast that a 6-month-old baby Wapiti is larger than an adult white-tailed deer. That size means that only the most powerful predators can take them down. Wolves, bears, cougars, and even tigers are their main predators. Yep, they go against Siberian tigers. Unfortunately, they have been overhunted by humans, and their current range is mostly limited to Siberia, the Rockies, and some isolated pockets of North America and Asia. Luckily, around these lands, they're still abundant, and when we were there, it was the best time to see them. Late fall is the breeding season for these elk, so it's very important to keep our distance. Their pheromones are going to be driving them wild. The males are blocking antlers, and the females, well, they're interested in what they've got to show. During this period, the bulls follow females and can establish harems of over 20 cows. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. In order to keep charge of his harem, bulls need to fight off challenging males. Did you hear that? One of the males just bugled. What an amazing sound. It's so haunting. This male thinks he has what it takes to topple the king. Oh my God, he's coming this way. Oh, he lowers his head. He's squaring off with the larger bull. Oh wow, he was looking for better footing, but then he decided to just charge in. They crash into one another, locking antlers. Oh no! Come on, little guy! They are locked in battle, pushing each other back and forth, trying to knock the other over. That's amazing! But the challenger didn't stand a chance. This dominant bull is just too massive. The young buck will live to munch another day. The dominant male remains the head of the harem, but he still needs to put the work in for the ladies. To woo them, he uses a bit of an unusual strategy. Urine. The male's urethra points up towards its belly, and when it pees, it soaks its underbelly. Over time, it starts to reek of pee and pheromones, which cows find irresistible. Their pee stain is their chick magnet. But just because cows are attracted to them doesn't mean they'll mate with the dominant bull. He'll try his luck by seductively licking the air. If she picks up what he's putting down, she'll let him mount her. But in this case, it seems she'd rather do anything else. The male leaves her to join another bull for a meal. Bros before does, I guess. For these Wapiti, it's the middle of the rutting season, so the male's antlers are as big as they will be before they fall off. You should never approach an elk, but you should especially never approach a male elk during rutting season. It's definitely an advantage for elk to lose their antlers for the winter, because they're heavy, they radiate a lot of heat, and when there's no reason to fight, why do you need antlers anyway? An elk's antlers will grow back every single spring like clockwork. It's one of the fastest growing tissues on the planet, at 2.5 centimeters every single day. The antlers can grow to about 1.8 meters in length and weigh up to 8 kilograms. Absolutely massive. They don't only need those antlers for fighting with other male Wapiti, but also for warding off attackers. As a blizzard started to move in, we thought our day was over. But then, in the distance, we spotted something. We weren't the only ones following this bull. Across the field and through the trees, a pack of wolves. Oh my God, there they are. A pack of gray wolves has been tracking this bull. Down across the field, there's a whole pack of wolves trying to take down a bull elk. This isn't gonna go well. They start their attack. I'm gonna try and get down and get a better vantage point. But this won't be an easy kill. Bull elk are massive, and the wolves will need to coordinate if they're to be successful. The packs surround the elk. Oh my God, this is insane. The pack moves in, snapping at the elk, going for the neck. But this elk isn't going down without a fight. Guys, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. But in the end, the pack was too much for one elk to hold off alone. Today, we're on the lookout for one of the most adorable and low-key deadliest animals, the chipmunk. Before we continue, we'd love to share one of our favorite resources for nature and documentary content, CuriosityStream. We're always looking to learn more about the world around us, and CuriosityStream is the perfect streaming service for people who want to know more. You could say it's the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, or the Disney Plus for the scientist in all of us. It's smart TV for your smart TV. With thousands of documentaries and non-fiction shows and movies, you'll find something that fits your interests. Food, nature, travel. There's a program for you. And better yet, there are 35 curated collections of high-quality programs hand-picked by the team at CuriosityStream. We'd recommend checking out Life at the Limits. This series explores the most extreme places of Earth, from the Amazon forest to the Taver Ver volcano, and how the animals that live there adapt to their surroundings. Stream award-winning exclusives and originals on any smart device. Use code Animalogic to sign up for just $14.99 for an entire year. These cute little rodents look like tiny squirrels, but they have carved themselves a separate niche. Most squirrels are amazing climbers who spend the majority of their time in the trees. In some areas in North America, you can hardly look around without seeing a squirrel staring back at you with those cold, cold squirrel eyes. See? Chipmunks are a little harder to see because they live in burrows in the ground, and they're really good at hiding them. It's super hard to find a chipmunk burrow entrance.
But luckily, today I'm on a trail that's known to be prime chipmunk territory.
In my neck of the woods, there's only one species, the eastern chipmunk, which lives from southern Canada to southeastern United States. But there are over 20 other species found in North America, many of which are found in the diverse ecosystems in the West. There's also one species of chipmunk in Siberia, which has been introduced to Japan.
They all basically look the same. They're all brown with black and white stripes down their back. And they're all crazy cute.
This coloration helps them camouflage from predators by breaking the outline of their body. It's a necessary adaptation as they have a huge roster of potential predators. Owls, hawks, snakes, weasels, raccoons, even domestic cats and dogs are more than happy to have a chipmunk amuse-bouche.
And it's really no wonder they're so skittish. Their only real defense mechanism is hiding in their burrows.
They are fantastic engineers and can make burrows with separate chambers for debris, food storage, and sleeping quarters.
They even have separate chambers to store their feces. You know, gotta keep clean.
The burrows aren't usually very deep, but they extend parallel to the surface for up to 3 meters.
All of this was dug by a small animal who's only about as big as a little banana.
Whenever they're inside, they plug the entrance so well that they're nearly invisible. When they're digging a new burrow or chamber, they use work tunnels, which are separate from the main entrance. This helps them take out soil without creating conspicuous dirt mounds near their burrow entrance. To take dirt out, they put it in their mouth, which can expand greatly due to their elastic cheeks. These huge cheeks are also used to transport food into their burrow.
Just to give you an idea, the current chipmunk record holders have been recorded holding 70 sunflower seeds, 31 corn kernels, and 12 acorns. That's basically the equivalent of you holding an entire puma in your mouth.
But they can't get every little seed or spore. In fact, in North America, they're one of the most important means of dispersion of every fancy chef's favorite subterranean ingredient, truffle mushrooms.
Without chipmunks, truffles might not exist.
Of course, hours of digging and running around in the mud makes them very dirty, which is why they spend about half of their day cleaning themselves.
They can reach almost every part of their body with their teeth and tongue. Lucky!
And they also use the cat method of moistening their hands with saliva to clean the inaccessible parts like the back of their head.
Contrary to the lies that Disney told you about Chip and Dale, chipmunks never really live in trees, and they certainly don't live with their brothers. These rodents are fiercely territorial loners.
Every morning, chipmunks come out of the burrow, climb onto a branch about 2 meters off the ground, and chirp as loud as they can for about 10 minutes. This is a territorial call that can be heard for up to 200 meters away.
And it sounds like this. Which is chipmunk for, "This land is my land, kindly f*** off."
Their burrows have a max occupancy of 1, except for when mama has babies, or when females let males enter their domain to mate. Males, who are famously silly billies, often fight each other for access to the females for so long that they end up completely missing their chance to mate.
This is a stressful time for the females, not only because of the guys knocking at their door, but also because they need to get ready for pregnancy.
Normally, their diet is what you'd expect for a rodent. Seeds, nuts, some mushrooms, and whatever bug or worm that comes their way.
But during the mating season, something changes. They become miniature killing machines and start going after lizards, birds, and other rodents, all in search for a little extra animal fats and proteins. But when they're really feeling confident, they'll go after something far more dangerous: snakes. Here in Ontario, eastern chipmunks are known to hunt northern water snakes. These snakes can grow to over a meter in length, over 5 times the length of a chipmunk. While not venomous, the water snake's pure bulk alone is a threat to the chipmunk. But this chippy is feeling bold. She's searching the rocks for dinner. Avoiding the larger snakes, she gets lucky and finds a juvenile. Caught by surprise, the snake didn't stand a chance, and before it could react, the chippy was eating it from the middle out. Which I think we can all agree is the weirdest possible way to eat a snake. Come on.
One of the adaptations they have that allows them to take on such dangerous prey are their highly advanced visual systems, which allows them to essentially see in slow motion. Chipmunks and other small mammals and birds have a higher critical flicker fusion frequency than we do. This basically means that their eyes refresh much faster than ours do, allowing them to process light much quicker and see it in a form of slow motion. This allows them to dodge the insanely fast strike of a highly venomous Japanese pit viper and retaliate before the viper can recover, and then eat the snake in the second weirdest way possible, face first. Ugh.
Do they not know that the proper way to eat a snake is tail first? Or on a bun with spicy mayo? After their thirst for blood has been quenched, they go to their burrows to give birth.
Babies emerge about 6 weeks later, and a couple of weeks after that, they'll get officially kicked out of their burrow. Then they'll have to travel out on their own until they find an empty plot. But they'll have to be quick, as they'll need to find one before winter. Then eastern chipmunks will go into hibernation, and the western species will stay awake, but will have to rely on their food reserves. Going into winter unprepared is a death sentence. Only about 60% of eastern chipmunks will make it to spring.
But those who do make it will awaken to an abundance of food. And the entire process of eating seeds, digging burrows, killing snakes, and joining Alvin's cover band will start all over again.
Here we go! We are the chipmunks, chipmunks are we. We live in the woods, a happy family. We sing and we dance and we play. So come along and join the fun every single day.
So what should we talk about next? Please let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe for new episodes every week. Thanks for watching and see ya! I grew up in northern Quebec, where these guys were just running rampant in all directions at all times. And of course, you would try and make friends with the woodland creatures, doing my best to become a tiny druid in training. My brother and I called every single chipmunk that we ever met Chipper. Very original, I know. You know, that's what they are, they're little chippers. Beavers are one of the most recognizable animals in the world, and today we're in Algonquin Park looking for some.
Before we continue, I'd like to give a special shout out to Wren for sponsoring this episode. You've probably considered ways to reduce your carbon footprint, like recycling and not driving when possible. But have you ever wondered how big your footprint really is? Wren is a website that calculates your carbon footprint and then shows you how you can reduce it and even offset what's left over. Here's how it works. You answer a few questions about your lifestyle, and Wren will calculate your carbon footprint. It'll give you tips on how you can reduce it, but honestly, no one can get rid of it entirely, so you can offset what you have left after reducing.
By making a monthly contribution, you'll be supporting tree planting, rainforest protection, and other projects. And you'll even get monthly updates from the projects you're supporting, showing you the trees you've planted and what your money is spent on. We've partnered with Wren to plant 10 extra trees for the first 100 people who sign up using our referral link. Head over to wren.co/start/animalogic2 to start helping the planet. Their engineering prowess is legendary. Their flat, scaly textured tail is unique among rodents. And their effects on their environment are only surpassed by humans.
There are 2 species in the world, but for today's episode, we're going to focus on my neighbors, the North American beaver, Castor canadensis.
These guys are found throughout most of North America, from northern Canada to the southern United States.
Beavers are the largest rodents in North America and second largest in the world after capybaras.
Most adult beavers weigh between 20 and 30 kilograms, with some exceptionally chunky lads reaching the 40-kilo mark. While large for a rodent, they are still quite vulnerable to predators, and so they have evolved some pretty clever adaptations. Their eyes and ears sit almost on the top of their heads, allowing them to just stick the tops of their heads out of the water, minimizing the risk of being spotted by a predator. While they're pretty slow and awkward on land, in the water, beavers are speed demons, reaching up to 5.5 knots when swimming. That's a bit faster than Michael Phelps's top speed from an oversized pond rat. Paired with their oversized lungs, which allow them to hold their breath for up to 15 minutes. At the slightest sign of danger, the beaver can nope right out of there. Equipped with a nictitating membrane which allows them to open their eyes underwater, as well as hypersensitive whiskers, finding their way through the dark and mucky waters where they live is easy. Surprisingly, their nautical speed doesn't come only from their massive flat tails. They also use their powerful webbed hind feet. When they do spot a predator, before diving, the beaver will slap the water with their massive tail. This is a warning sign to other beavers to hide in the depths, as well as a way to spook the predator. Yet while their speed allows them to escape most predators, beavers prefer not to be spotted at all, which has led to their most audacious adaptation. They create ecosystems. Other than humans, beavers are the animal that modify their environment the most. They make dens, dams, and canals to improve their living conditions and survival rates.
Their most important feat is damming rivers.
To do this, they cut down trees and move hundreds of kilos of wood, rocks, mud, and grass to block the path of a river. This creates ponds, which are safer for beavers than shallow rivers, allowing them to dive to greater depths. The dams are usually about 1 meter wide and can be up to 500 meters long.
Most of a beaver's predators are terrestrial. Cougars, wolves, and bears are their main threats, so ponds like these provide safe refuge.
Other predators include eagles, lynx, and bobcats, but they mostly take babies. Who would eat a cute little beaver baby like this? If the beaver lives in a natural pond or a big enough river, they won't make a dam, as they already have the protection of deep water. But when they need it, they'll go to extreme lengths to make it happen. The longest known beaver dam is over 800 meters long. It's located in northern Canada and was discovered by a satellite surveying the area. Damming is such an instinctual behavior for beavers that researchers have played the sound of running water on a tape player, and a captive beaver felt compelled to start piling sticks and mud on top of the tape player to try and plug the leak.
Once the water is at least 1 meter deep, they start building their lodge. Beaver families work together and can build a lodge that's up to 6 meters wide.
Simple lodges can be built on the riverbank. They usually get some shade from nearby and are cooler in the summer. Open water lodges are more complex and sometimes have a separate dining area. The ceiling is sealed with mud, except for a breathing hole, and in the winter, the snow insulates it. The entrance is always underwater, but the living area is above the water level.
The third type of structure is the canal, which is much more rare and far less studied.
They dig these canals using the sharp claws on their front, non-webbed paws in order to connect separate ponds to shorten their commute, to get food from farther away from their lodge, and to move building materials between ponds.
They're like their own little underwater highways.
Beavers mate for life, and their lodges are usually home to 3 generations of beaver: the mated pair, their kits, and their yearlings. The kits are great swimmers after just 1 week, but their mom will carry them around either on her tail or in her arms. Aww! While they can swim, at that age they're still too buoyant to dive. Double aww! Beavers are quite social animals. In order to communicate with beavers that aren't in their family group, they create scent mounds at the edges of their territory. They bring mud up from the bottom of the lake or river and use their tail to pat it down around sticks. Then they mark the pile using the castor oil produced by their anal glands. It can have quite a distinct sound. Can we hear that again? Great, just great. These mounds also make it easier for the beavers to slide in and out of the water. And they're quite popular among other species too. After about 2 years, the young beavers will move out of their parents' house and start looking for a partner of their own. If they're lucky, they'll find a suitable partner, and the courtship will begin.
Because of their amazing tree cutting and building abilities, most people think they just eat wood pulp, but their diet is far more varied than that.
They have the ability to digest wood pulp, but when available, they go for herbaceous plants, such as water lilies and cattails. Their favorite barks come from the apparently delicious aspen and poplar trees. This diet of wood pulp is key, as it keeps their incisors worn down. A must, as they never stop growing. To digest all that plant matter, they have a cecum, a compartment in their digestive system that is full of cellulose-loving gut bacteria. These gut bacteria break down hard plant matter and turn it into more digestible compounds for the beaver. They spend the summer months collecting food for the winter and bringing it into their lodges, where the frigid winter waters preserve the nutrients in their hoard, like a refrigerator. In addition to their natural cold stores, they also build up fat reserves in their tails.
In case you're wondering, it's hard to the touch, like rough leather. Speaking of the cold, lean months, beavers have a double coat to help keep them warm in the cold North American winters.
They have a layer of soft inner hairs and a thicker layer of long, coarse hairs on top of that, which are then covered in an oil called castoreum to waterproof them. Unfortunately, their fur almost cost them their life from the 1600s to the 1800s. Their fur was highly valued in Europe, where it was used to make felted fur hats. At the peak of the beaver fur trade, over 80,000 beavers a year were trapped and sent to European haberdasheries. On top of that, castoreum became commonly used in perfume and food due to their vanilla scent. Their population crashed from 200 million to the brink of extinction. Luckily, environmental protections as well as changes in fashion styles saved them. They have since recovered to a population of about 10 to 15 million, which is still less than 10% of their original numbers. Their return has also meant a revival of rodent engineering in America and the animals that live in beaver-made homes. Beavers literally build ecosystems. All of that plant chomping has a profound effect on the environment, and unfortunately, that's not always great for humans.
In some areas, their dams flood agricultural land and destroy crops. They can also knock down trees in public parks or near houses. In areas of human-beaver conflict, beavers are usually removed, especially in areas where they were introduced and have become invasive, such as Patagonia.
But to other animals, it's a crucial part of their survival, as it provides protection from predators and a constant source of food.
Waterfowl, for example, do much better in beaver ponds than in rivers or larger natural ponds. Duck populations are up to 75 times larger in areas with beavers than without.
Swans and geese like to make their nest on lodges on the safety of a stable structure far away from predators.
But most importantly, it provides homes to amphibians and fish. These beaver ponds provide safer and richer environments than deep natural ponds or shallow rivers. In some rivers in Washington state, it has been found that the disappearance of beaver ponds causes a decrease in salmon populations of up to 90%. The ponds also act as protection against wildfires, stop soil erosion, and accumulate soil, which makes the area fertile for aquatic plants. In Yellowstone, the reintroduction of beavers combined with the reintroduction of wolves led to more beaver ponds being made, and a resurgence of waterfowl and fish in the park. This created a domino effect that saw a massive increase in the park's biodiversity, bringing it closer to the numbers it was once home to. All of this was just a byproduct of the beaver wanting to be better at hide and seek.
So what's not to love about these fuzzy engineers? They fully deserve to be the symbol of Canada. Well done, little lads.
Today we're in Muskoka, Ontario, and I'm gonna go see some wolves. Oh, there they are.
There are over 30 gray wolf subspecies found all over the world from the Arctic to the Indian subcontinent. Some scientists even consider Australian dingoes a subspecies of gray wolf. But today, we're on our way to meet the subspecies that's closest to my heart and to my home. They're some of the largest and most majestic predators in North America, the Timberwolves. As their name suggests, these wolves specialize in life in the forest. Those born west of the Rockies are called Western Timberwolves, and those from the Great Lakes are the Eastern Timberwolves. The Western Timberwolves are one of the most diverse wolf subspecies, with coats ranging from jet black to brown and light gray. Eastern Timberwolves are a bit more uniform. Most of them are gray and light brown.
Here we go. We're at Aspen Valley Wildlife Sanctuary, and we're about to meet a pack of wolves. We need to keep as much distance as possible and approach slowly and quietly to make sure that they stay as comfortable as possible.
The first thing you notice when you come across a Western Timberwolf is just how massive they are. Some large males can get to 50 kilograms and be as tall as a St. Bernard. And even scarier, if you're delicious and nutritious prey, they're almost never alone. An average wolf pack consists of about 10 wolves, and every day they patrol their territory looking for food. Their prey are usually deer and ungulate behemoths like moose and bison, which have a great sense of hearing and amazing peripheral vision. But sometimes they'll go after grizzly bears. After spotting feasible prey, they'll sneak up on it until they're in striking range. Then they'll start the chase, which sometimes can last for days until they can surround their prey. From there, they'll take turns attacking it and biting its sensitive areas until it bleeds out. This is surprisingly similar to the hunting strategy of early humans. These western timber wolves haven't eaten in a couple of days, but today they're getting an easier meal. They're eating venison steak. Right, I'm gonna be going in and helping to feed the wolves. I've got a nice big bucket of meat, ripe for the chewing. The wolves are pretty shy because they actually joined the sanctuary just about 2 months ago and haven't habituated to the people around here yet too much. But when the food comes out, everyone gets a little friendlier, right? I know I do. Little by little, the wolves come out to eat and then go back to the safety of the forest. Very curious and cautious around us, watching our every move, so I need to be quiet and still. Even the smallest sounds and noises and movements can spook them. And this one got a little nervous. I think it was actually the rustling of a bird, so it's because we're here. After about an hour, they get their fill and retreat. That was incredible. It was a real privilege to actually share the enclosure with them and watch them chow down for a little bit. In the wild, timber wolves can go days without food. Catching large prey to gorge themselves on gives them the best chance of survival, as it's more energetically efficient. Deer are their favorite food, and while it's easy to feel sad for them, most deer species are overpopulated, and wolves are one of the best methods of population control. Catching huge animals takes an experienced team. So, to see a larger pack, we are going to Halliburton Forest Wildlife Reserve, home to a larger family of western timber wolves. Here they come, they're coming this way. Oh, look at that. Like most wolf packs, this one has a dominant mating pair. And they recently had babies. Wolves mate once a year and have 3 to 5 pups per litter. In here, there's actually a litter of 3 pups, so it's pretty cute to see. They're 3 months old, jet black, and really, really adorable. Raising them is a communal effort. All members of the pack help feed the puppies by regurgitating food into their mouths and taking turns looking after them. Their mom has to make sure they have the pack's undivided attention, as over 50% of wolf pups don't make it to adulthood. A wolf pack typically has one dominant female who tries to keep all the other females stressed enough that they cannot reproduce. She keeps them so stressed that they're unable to ovulate. So, there'll be one top dog and only she gets to breed. Females being extra aggressive towards other females is a sadly common occurrence in the animal kingdom. But luckily, it doesn't take long until the pups become productive members of society. The gestation period for gray wolves is only 9 weeks, after which they'll give birth to 3 to 5 puppies. They'll only drink the mother's milk for about 8 weeks. After that, they'll become full size by about 8 months of age, so they grow very, very fast. Once they're old enough, they'll join the adults. They'll quickly learn their role in the group and they'll have to be submissive towards the dominant pair. The punishment for insurrection is banishment, or, in some cases, death. Even in relatively peaceful packs like this one, conflict is inevitable. A young male gets too comfortable around the dominant male and challenges his authority. Another wolf senses the tension and holds him back. Luckily, he's an experienced leader and knows how to intimidate his subordinates without resorting to violence. Crisis averted. This group is very cohesive. They go everywhere together and even clean each other after every meal. They don't like having any food or blood crusted on their fur, so they'll help each other out by licking each other's faces and making sure that nothing is left behind. When they're not eating, they'll protect their territory, which in the wild is about 35 square kilometers, and mark it with urine to make sure other neighboring wolves don't encroach on it. The border area is marked extra strongly with urine, feces, and anal gland secretions. Howling is another form of communication. It can be used as an alarm call, as a way to find each other when lost, or as a threat to other wolf packs. Wolves can tell how many members there are in other packs based on their howling. If they think there's too few of them, they might attack to take over territory. Wolves tend to howl when the moon is out for two simple reasons. A clear night has the right atmospheric conditions for the howls to travel further, and the light makes them more active and willing to go on night hunts. Under perfect conditions, their howls can travel over 10 kilometers. And if you hear them, you can be sure you're entering the land of one of the greatest predators in the world. Watch out, Bambi. Today, I've been slowly acclimatizing myself to a wolf, and right now we're about to have a face-to-face meet. But this wolf, it's not going to be on a lead or anything. So we're going to be very careful and see if this wolf forms a bond with me. Wish me luck. Crunchy wolf treat. Delicious quail.
This is the land of misfit animals.
We're here to see the Wolverine Man at the Crochel Nature Center.
The grizzly pushed this door in when I was sleeping right there last year.
The guy who runs this place, Steve Crochel, is kind of a local celebrity within the Yukon and Alaska. Oh, thanks.
Come on in.
He's got a lot of really interesting animals here. I don't know what to expect.
I have a quail in my pocket. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. But I know it's going to be exciting. Let's go see.
Mishka! Yell that out, Mishka, like that. Mishka!
Mishka!
Yeah, Mishka!
Mishka!
Yeah, Mishka! Say it a little louder.
Mishka!
Mishka!
Mishka the wolf is imprinted with humans, and today I'm just going to try and build a rapport with her so that tomorrow we might be able to take her for a walk.
Oh, the Mishka!
Hi, Mishka!
Yeah, the Mishka!
That's a
Oh,
Mishka!
that's a Mishka! Oh.
That's a good Mishka! Yeah!
Okay, give her this little piece.
Oh, Mishka!
Right there. Yeah, Mishka!
Oh, Mishka!
Yeah, the Mishka! There you go.
Now I just gave Mishka a piece of meat, piece of quail actually. So hopefully she'll remember me as a friendly source of food.
Yeah.
Mishka! Good girl, Mishka! Oh, you know, that's basically how I talk to my dogs too.
Yeah.
All right, I think that was a great first meeting with this wolf, Mishka. Mishka's still really young, and she's been in contact with humans since birth. So she is very trusting and comfortable around us. Still important to build that relationship, as with people, as with animals. I like people better after having a snack too, you know? All right, this is day 2 at the Crochel Wildlife Park. Hold on. Yesterday we were here and I got to have a quick introduction to Mishka, just so that she'd recognize my scent and what I look like and my sound. Today, we're gonna try and see if we can take Mishka for a walk.
Get Mishka!
She's rambunctious and excited. Let's do this! She's a little more nimble than I am in the snow. Oh, Mishka!
Who is that?
She's got your gloves!
Mishka! Okay, so she's got my mittens. And we're going for a walk, Danielle.
Yeah.
Mishka!
I can't believe I'm helping bring a wolf for walkies.
Wolves are powerful. 1,800 pounds of pressure per square inch in those jaws.
Could she drag you if she tried?
Oh, yeah.
So how old is Mishka the wolf?
A year. And her parents are orphans from the Brooks Range of Alaska. So there's very few orphan wolves in Alaska anymore. They don't save them like they used to. Mishka!
Well, I guess this wolf got lucky then.
Yes. Get Mishka!
Oh, you're tough to keep up with, girl. Look at that, she's beautiful. Like many other gray wolves, they start young and darker in their color, and as they grow older, they'll grow lighter and brighter and more gray and white.
I don't know how I'm gonna get my mittens back.
What if we ask really nicely?
Well, let me try. Mishka! Let's go up here and wait. Mishka! Get the Mishka! Get Mishka! Oh,
There we go.
get Mishka! Aren't they beautiful?
Just gorgeous.
You know, there are lone wolves that can be in packs, though, between 2 to 40. 40, can you imagine being a moose?
Oh.
Oh,
She's so excited. There isn't an ounce of aggression in her right now.
Not now.
Doesn't mean she can't roughhouse and tumble. Oh yeah, she knows all about that.
Mishka! You gotta be submissive. Yeah, they're strong. Wolves are strong. But can you reach out with your mitten?
Hi, Mishka! Oh,
He wants it. Well, let's continue
Mishka.
on to a big play area. Here we go. Do you want to hold on to this?
oh, can I? Yeah.
But I mean, you can't let go.
Okay, let me wrap it around there.
You got it?
Okay, oh yeah, this is great.
Okay.
All right,
let's go.
Mishka!
Go then, Mishka!
Mishka! Woo!
See, are you doing okay?
She is so strong. She could pull me over and drag me if she wanted to. Woo!
Get down, Mishka!
Mishka!
She's pulling you. She's trying to.
Let's go!
She's encouraging. Get Mishka!
Mishka!
Okay.
Woo!
Go ahead.
Get tied up.
Oh. Okay. I'll take her from here. She wants to play. Here you go.
Whew. This wolf is full of beans, and I'm just trying to keep up. Mishka! Are you full of beans?
You know, about 25% of Alaskan wolves, Canadian wolves, are black.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of genetic variation. All right, I'm learning what the wolf training regimen is all about. And running in snow is no easy deal.
Take a break here. Let her sniff around.
Oh, what's she got there?
Go ahead and get closer and see if you can see.
Mishka, what do you got there? What's that? Oh, you found a pea spot.
Isn't that something how she found that? Because there's wild wolves around here.
Does she ever call out to them?
Yes.
As strong as this wolf is, a wolf is still no match for a wolverine. If you put one against the other, the wolverine would almost inevitably win. Just due to its lower stature to the ground, it can come up underneath the wolf and basically eviscerate it. Oh, I'm getting sniffs. Oh, now that situation is only if it's one-on-one. In the case of a wolf pack versus a wolverine, the wolverine stands no chance unless it can dig into a hole.
Yeah. Well, should we continue on?
Yeah.
Do you want to hold on to this
Oh
again?
my goodness, yes, let's go for walkies. All right, I gotta hold on tight. Mishka! Hi, Mishka!
Oh, Mishka, let's go! Yeah! Oh, Mishka! Oh no!
Hold on.
I knew that was gonna happen. There's just no way to tell exactly how deep the snow is, and it's completely irregular under this fresh powder. I dipped into a hole and went face first. Can't keep up with the wolf. Nope.
Studio F.
All right, Mishka. In we go.
Come on in.
All right. All right, so I'm just exiting my human enclosure, which was protecting me, and I'm about to see what it's like to run free with a wild wolf. This here should be safe, but I mean, this is a very big animal, and a wolf is not an animal that you should typically approach with such comfort. You need to respect their space. The only problem is they're not likely to respect yours. Oh, but she's being so good. Oh, she is so rambunctious. All she wants to do is wrestle over there. I mean, let's be honest, a wolf puppy is still a puppy. They want to rough and tumble and be naughty. It's just a little more dangerous to be naughty with a wolf. Oh, and she's about to be free. Oh, and she's free. Wonder if she'll come my way. Mishka! Dad, Mishka!
Yes, Mishka!
Mishka! Now the idea here isn't to challenge her, but definitely to present myself as being big and strong enough. She's chasing Steve over there, because Steve is her human.
You can come closer.
Okay. All right, so I'm being invited to go a little bit closer to the wolf. I am going to follow the lead that's given to me because I don't want to take any missteps. Now, the behavior of a wolf isn't that different from a domestic dog, but there's obviously some very key differences. Oh, she seems to like belly rubs.
Dancing with wolves now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Oh. Her familiar behavior to a dog shouldn't be that surprising, because wolves and dogs share over 99% of the same genetic code. Yeah. Oh, just bounding through that fluffy snow. I'd be flat on my face in about 0.2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Oh, no! Hey, Mishka, are we trading places? That's the human enclosure, silly.
Okay, go up in there.
All right, I need to go get where us humans belong. Inside a cozy, sheltered area. All right, so we've got a little bit of role reversal right now with me, the human, inside the enclosure, as you see, all around me, and Mishka the wolf running free outdoors. Now, because she is imprinted so well with her human, she can be trusted to be out there and always return. She knows where her source of warmth and food and love is. Steve here is basically her pack, so why would she ever leave?
Gotta go that way. Go that way. Okay, I'm gonna go over here.
All right, we're gonna give Mishka a treat. Yeah, let's go. See if I can catch this. Ooh, mittens, not so great at catching. Clearly, I'm no pro at baseball. We're gonna give this wolf a treat. We're gonna give this head first. Here you go. Delicious quail. Mmm. Ooh, there she goes. Crunchy wolf treat. Delicious quail.
Nature's nachos.
Crunch, crunch. What do you think of that, Mishka? After all this running and playing in the snow, she is hungry. Can't blame her. Before we left Mishka, Steve taught me how to howl like a wolf.
Now put your hands up like this. Tilt your head out skyward more. Keep going.
My voice is cracking.
I think I did a pretty good job. What do you think? Today, we were in the Yukon, getting up close and personal with the largest land mammal in North America, the iconic bison. If you want to see truly inspiring ecosystem restoration at work, stay tuned till the end for a video recommendation to watch how the European bison, Europe's largest mammal, was brought back from extinction. Whew. Try to keep warm in the most northern location that we have ever shot for Animalogic. We are just outside of Whitehorse at the Yukon Nature Preserve. Right in front of me, there's a bunch of bison. These are wood bison, and this species of bison only lives in very northern locales. Bison are part of the bovine subfamily. Some of their close relatives include cows, yaks, and water buffalo. Bison are often incorrectly referred to as buffalo. True buffalo, however, consist of many different species native to Africa and Asia. Today, there are 2 living species of bison: European, Bison bonasus, and American, Bison bison. The American bison is further divided into 2 subspecies: the wood bison, Bison athabascae, and the plains bison, which bears the fun-to-say scientific moniker Bison. The subspecies wood bison inhabit a more northerly range across northern Canada and Alaska. They're typically slightly larger than plains bison, but classifying them can sometimes be difficult due to hybridization between the 2. American bisons as a whole are the largest land animals in North America, with the males standing at about 6 feet tall at the shoulders and weighing up to 900 kilos. That's about as big as a compact car. These bison are so well insulated that the snow that's falling and accumulating on their backs doesn't melt. It just sits there. Despite their bulked-up appearance, bison are actually extremely quick on their feet, achieving speeds of up to 56 kilometers per hour in just a few strides. They're also super agile. They're able to make quick turns and even leap over high fences. Bison herds tend to be a harem arrangement, meaning that there's one male who's the boss of it all, and several females who keep him company. They all know their place though, and the biggest bison is always on top. They put all this power to good use during the rut, when competition is high and bison bulls fight for dominance. These fights involve crashing their skulls together or hooking the opponent's head from side to side with their half-a-meter-long horns and lifting their forelegs off the ground. Luckily for bison, they have big, thick skulls that can withstand this kind of battering. Since fighting costs a lot of energy, bison have found other ways of intimidating each other that are less exhausting, like bellowing, snorting, stamping, nodding, and approaching head-on. Fights and threats end when the losing opponent gives the winner a submissive display. So as you can see around me, I'm no longer standing up north in the Yukon. I am now in Grasslands National Park in Saskatchewan. And behind me here is no longer the woods bison, but the plains bison. You can tell a plains bison apart from a woods bison by a few key features. One of them is the shape of their heads. Plains bison have a much broader head with a shorter nose, whereas the woods bison has a more triangular-shaped head. The plains bison also has a much more defined and shaggy cape that drapes the front of its body, whereas the woods bison happens to have less of a cape, but way more of a shoulder hump. Okay, you probably can't see them, but these little black specks right back here, those are wild plains bison. We need to give them a wide berth, literally, because it is calving season, and they'll be very defensive of their little ones. The calves in this herd are 3 weeks to 10 days old, but they are expecting a few more, so who knows, we might get lucky today. Bison gestation lasts for 9.5 months, and they typically only give birth to one calf every 2 years. Their feeding process is all about tough love. The calf will actually headbutt its mother's udders to help it produce more milk. And once it's done feeding, the mother will return the gesture by kicking it in the head. It's its way to say, I love you, I guess. Oh, some grunting going on. Gotta look out behind me.
Given their speed and size, it's always best to observe bison in the wild from a very safe distance.
So we need to be pretty cautious around this herd, because we don't want to startle them. One way to make sure that they're aware of your presence is by making sure that they can see you. A lot of their vision is based on movement. So if you're swaying back and forth, that's just kind of a way to say like, hey, I'm over here, don't worry about me, not coming your way.
Just like dogs and cats, you can tell what kind of a mood a bison is in by watching their tail. If the bison's tail is hanging down, flicking naturally from side to side, you've got a calm bison on your hands. When the bison raises its tail straight up, you're dealing with an irritated bison. Watch out, as it might be getting ready to charge.
Although it's a dominant male who protects the herd is actually led by a matriarch. It's this one female who decides when they move, when to rest, and when to eat.
Bison have a special cultural significance and were a main source of food and raw materials for many different indigenous peoples of North America. Because bison are nomadic grazers, they were hunted by a wide range of indigenous groups throughout the year. Very few parts of bison hunted by indigenous peoples go unused. The same can't be said for the bison killed during the fur trade, which were killed for both their hides and as a purposeful strategy to starve indigenous people of an important resource. Plains bison are unfortunately most associated with the fact that they were hunted during this time almost to extinction. Before colonization, upwards of 60 million bison freely roamed the North American continent, from northern Canada to Mexico. By 1888, there were no bison remaining in Canada, and only an estimated 300 individuals remained in the area that would later become Yellowstone National Park in the U.S. Habitat loss due to agricultural expansion has also impacted their ability to re-establish themselves. Plains bison are considered to be a keystone species for the Great Plains, meaning that the entire ecosystem relies on them to remain in balance. Once one of the most widespread ecosystems, the prairies are now among the most threatened in North America due to the decline of plains bison. Plains bison serve a number of different roles in their prairie home, from providing food for predators to transporting seeds long distances in their thick fur.
Bison are the natural fertilizers of the plains. Wherever they leave their dung behind is bound to spring up greener and stronger than ever.
Their habit of wallowing, digging a pit and rolling around in the dirt to keep the flies off, also opens up new ground for grasses to grow.
Seeing some females roll and wallow around in the grass, it's such a charming behavior. For them, they do it just because it feels good. It helps them slough off some of their shaggy winter coat. But when a male does it, it's more to make a hole in the ground to say, look how big and strong I am. There's a gigantic male bison right in front of our car, and he's stopped by a signpost to give himself a good scratch. I can see why this would be especially important right now in the spring, because he's in the process of shedding his winter coat. It comes off in clumps, but it doesn't come off easy, so he gets a little help from the signpost. Grasslands National Park is currently the best place in Canada to see these plains bison in their natural habitat. Unfortunately, there's only about 20,000 individuals left in the world, with Canada only having about 10% of that population.
This decline sparked one of the first major movements in North America to save a species from extinction. The American Bison Society was founded in 1904 for this very reason. Due to efforts to re-establish bison in North America for more than a century, bison have been pulled back from the brink of extinction.
We are down to the last shred of light for today, and we had to make a dead stop in the middle of the road because there are 2 plains bison and they are facing our way. These bison in front of us are the most massive animals in North America. We do not want to get too close. It honestly looks as though they're the protectors of the road. Like they might charge us a toll if we try and go by. Whatever that toll is, I can't afford it. Today we're in beautiful Grasslands National Park in Saskatchewan, home to wide open plains, a sea of grasses, and an incredible creature that we'd be lucky to see. That is, if we can catch up with it. We are just getting into grasslands and we've already encountered our first 2 pronghorns. There's one way out in the field over here and another right by the side of the road. Ah, we're so lucky. Oh, he's going. Oh my God. I love the way they run. It's just not what you would expect from a deer. It's definitely a pronghorn thing.
Despite its scientific name, Antilocapra americana, translating to the American antelope goat, pronghorns are not a part of the antelope or goat family. In fact, their closest living relatives are the giraffe and the okapi.
We've got a mature male pronghorn right here by the side of the road. And for whatever reason, it's been very patient with us. We're being quiet enough to try and make him comfortable. And he is slowly inching closer and closer to our car. But he's giving us some incredible views right now. He's close enough that I can see that his big, beautiful horns are actually kind of twisted. Horns don't always grow perfect, what can I say? He's also got just a beautiful black patch on his nose and around his eyes. This is one of the defining features of males. Thanks for the time, Twisty.
They go by many names: pronghorn, antelope, prongbuck, and American antelope. But if we really want to understand these high-speed honeys, we have to start at the very beginning.
I really love pronghorns. I think they're such interesting animals and almost look out of place here in North America. But there's a reason for that. You know, they're a remnant of a past ecosystem and evolved to deal with things that are no longer present, such as cheetahs. Pronghorns are the sole surviving species of a once flourishing North American ungulate family called the Antilocapridae, whose fossil record dates back to the Miocene epoch over 5 million years ago.
During its history, the Antilocapridae family has included a wide array of diverse species, which has had an equally diverse variety of horns. The pronghorn's incredible agility and super speed evolved during a time when they shared the North American grasslands with some of the continent's greatest predators. There was the long-legged hyena, a large lion, and at least 2 species of cheetah. Pronghorns had to outrun these animals in order to stay alive.
Even though their speedy, prehistoric predators went extinct in North America about 10,000 years ago during the Pleistocene extinction event, the pronghorn's magnificent running ability has not changed a bit.
They can canter effortlessly at 40 kilometers an hour, gallop without straining at 70 kilometers an hour, and can reach top speeds of up to 100 kilometers an hour. This makes them the fastest land animal in North America and the second fastest in the world. Only the cheetah is faster.
For these guys, speed is not just a way to escape predators. It's a way of life. Pronghorns aren't just burst runners. They can run for 2 hours at 50 kilometers an hour. Talk about stamina.
Pronghorns have really long and skinny legs that are built for big strides. They also have an absolutely extraordinary capacity to consume and process oxygen.
One of the secrets to the pronghorn's extreme speed is an enlarged trachea, lungs, and heart. This allows for a more rapid gas exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. They also run with their mouths open to take in maximum oxygen to fuel their muscles. This allows them to run at a sustained 70 kilometers per hour for over 30 kilometers. African cheetahs, for comparison's sake, can only hold their top speed for about 1 kilometer.
Pronghorns are masters of both the marathon and the sprint. They can reach a whopping 11 kilometers in just 10 minutes, whereas I can do 1 kilometer in 5 minutes. In the right weather, wearing the right shoes. Yep.
No current predator can outrun a healthy adult pronghorn. But it seems to me like no one has told the pronghorns this fact, because they have oh so many evolutionary features in order to keep one step ahead of predators anyway. Pronghorns have huge protruding eyes that are way back on their heads, giving them a wide field of vision.
How big are their eyes, you ask? Well, pronghorns have the biggest eyes relative to body size among all ungulates in North America, with each eyeball measuring in at about 3.5 centimeters in diameter.
They have impeccable vision, with the ability to spot a predator up to 6 kilometers away.
Okay, pronghorns, we get it. Your eyes are incredible. Show-offs.
Pronghorns have incredibly interesting horns, as they should, because it's where their namesake originates.
But the question is, are they horns or are they antlers? Well, it's a cross between them both.
True antlers are made of bone and shed each year, while true horns are made of compressed keratin and never shed. But the horns of the pronghorn are made of keratin, but they shed them yearly.
In fact, they're the only animal in the world to have forked or pronged horns that shed every year.
The male's horns can grow to be up to 30 centimeters, extending straight up, then curving backwards. But the female's horns are much smaller. The top of the horn bifurcates into a prong, and thus the pronghorn name was born. The main distinguishing features that sets male pronghorns apart from the females is the fact that their horns grow inwards in a curve like a big lyre, but they also have black markings on their face that gives them just a little bit of drama. I'm into it. Pronghorns have short, reddish-brown fur that helps them blend in well with the dry landscape that they live in. They also have white patches of fur on their cheeks, chest, belly, rump, and legs. This white fur serves a greater purpose. You guessed it, to help warn their brethren of predators.
If a pronghorn spots a predator, the white fur on their backside stands up. This sends a message to other pronghorn, warning them of danger.
This white patch also serves as a beacon, so the herd can stick together while fleeing. Their white underbelly deflects heat rising from the ground and keeps the pronghorn nice and cool. They have an outer layer of hairs to help them stay warm in the winter, but they molt that coat in the summer. Scent communication is another way pronghorns warn others of danger. Bucks actually have 9 scent glands, while does have 6. The glands on their rump release an alarm odor whenever the pronghorn sees a predator.
Adult pronghorns may not need to fear as many predators today, but their fawns do, making these evolutionary adaptations very important.
Wolves, foxes, bobcats, and especially coyotes are known to hunt baby pronghorns, and the pronghorn herds take this threat very seriously. In fact, another evolutionary adaptation is that females have an invariant litter size of 2, based on historically high levels of predation on fawns. Right out in this field right now, there's a group of 3 pronghorns consisting of 1 male and 2 females. One of those females is extremely pregnant. Her belly is hanging low. It won't be long before she's going to be giving birth. This male is being very protective of these females. He's kind of coaxing them along, trying to lead them to safety. He does see us as a threat. He keeps checking back, looking at us, and then giving the females a little boop. Very cool to see a pregnant pronghorn. I'd say she's in good hands. I think he's pooping. Just doing a little squat.
Pronghorns mate in summer and fall, and the females give birth to 1 or 2 fawns in early spring.
They have a longer gestation period than typical North American ungulates, averaging 8 months. When they are born, fawns are almost odorless to protect them from who? Oh, that's right, coyotes. Fawns can typically walk 30 minutes after birth. At 4 days old, they can outrun humans, and in 1 week, they're able to run faster than a horse.
We stopped by the road to watch a mother pronghorn and her calf. This calf is so full of energy. He's zooming around and taking off and coming back. Mother's just patiently waiting. Oh my goodness, this calf is running laps around its mother. What a little show-off.
Pronghorn moms are neat freaks and keep their babies dry and clean. Immediately after birth, the mom licks the fawn dry. Then it proceeds to clean its rump. Rump licking happens around an hour after birth. It helps prevent parasitic infections. Once the fawn is fully dry and fetal feces free, it'll be ready to travel with its mom.
The only defining feature that makes these little ones stand out is that they do still have the white butt. That helps them communicate with their parents and other members of the herd. Because if they need to send out the alert, they'll raise that white fur. Oh, it's so sweet watching these two interact. Just the most wholesome thing I've ever seen.
Pronghorns live in herds that vary in size depending on the season. In the fall and winter, they can be found in herds of up to 1,000 individuals. In the spring and summer, these herds break up into smaller groupings.
There is a clear hierarchical structure to the groups, with social status being tied to size and dominance. Male pronghorns will strike with their hooves or use their horns against predators or other pronghorns alike when battling for dominance. Fighting between males can become very heated. In other words, if you mess with a prong, you get the horns.
Despite their aggressive behavior, pronghorns are high-key herbivores who love to graze. They're most active at dawn and dusk, where they spend their time munching on a variety of grasses and small plants.
They drink water when it's available to them, but they can go for weeks without it, getting their moisture from their food. Pronghorns are ruminants and spend their days and nights eating and resting with the herd.
And I say rest in the lightest sense of the word. Pronghorns rarely close their eyes to sleep, as they must remain alert to any potential predators.
When they do sleep, it's for less than 10 minutes at a time. This might seem like an overabundance of caution in a land without cheetahs, but with wolves and coyotes still around, pronghorns can't be caught napping.
Pronghorns figure heavily into the early history of humans in North America. Forget about where the deer and the antelope play. North America has always been where the pronghorns pronk.
They were known to be used as sources of meat and hides for the indigenous populations. Early European travelers to America's west wrote stories of pronghorn herds dotting the plains as far as the eye could see. But the more people that arrived, the more the pronghorn's habitat declined.
It's wild to think that these animals were down to 20,000 left back in the early 1900s. Right now, there's over 500,000 of them out here, and they're quite a common sight.
Populations began to recover with modern conservation, and by the 1970s, pronghorn numbers were up, and there were over 400,000 in North America.
Today, in Grasslands National Park, a process is underway to re-establish the natural prairies and ensure that the number of pronghorn continues to rise.
Of the 5 pronghorn subspecies, only the peninsular pronghorn of Baja California is at critical risk, though the Sonoran pronghorn is on the endangered species list. These creatures can be found roaming the Great Plains of North America into northern Mexico. In Canada, they reside here in Saskatchewan and in southeastern Alberta.
I absolutely love the pronghorns out here.
To me, they are synonymous with the Canadian prairies. Most summers, I'm out in southern Alberta doing dinosaur digs, and driving down the old dirt roads, we're always bound to see a few. There's nothing quite like it. In order to meet their nutritional requirements, they need to travel vast distances. They actually have one of the longest land migrations in the Americas.
Herds of pronghorn migrate at least 240 kilometers between Wyoming's Upper Green River Base and Grand Teton National Park. The only animal to travel further in North America is the caribou.
Is there anything that pronghorns can't do? In fact, there is. Pronghorns can't jump. They're very poor vertical jumpers and are reluctant to do so.
They rarely jump over fences and usually try to crawl under them instead. This is important for a species that roams far and wide through developed areas of the Great Plains, where farmers have put up fences that pronghorns can't crawl under. If pronghorns can't crawl under them, they learn to avoid them.
The pronghorn is one animal that really shows how much our past shapes our future.
You know, I thought that moose might have been my favorite Canadian ungulate, but pronghorns are taking that spot. Sorry, guys. Right now, I'm standing in the middle of a gigantic prairie dog colony in Grasslands National Park, Saskatchewan.
This park is home to a species called the black-tailed prairie dog, which can be found from the prairies of
Despite their name, prairie dogs are not, in fact, dogs, which becomes immediately clear as soon as you see one.
They are in fact members of the Sciuridae family and are closely related to the chunky marmots, the adorable chipmunks, and the tree rats that destroy my bird feeder every year. But unlike your adorable and slightly terrifying neighborhood squirrels, these cuties live in the ground. It can get pretty hot where they live, so they've evolved a pretty neat trick: become a pancake. This behavior is known as splooting. They'll find a cold patch of ground and spread out their body to radiate their heat into it. It's this summer's coolest trend.
There's one right in front of me. A prairie dog. Okay, he just squeaked and sounded the alarm to let his other prairie dog friends know that somebody's here who shouldn't be. Hi. Of course, I mean no harm. All around me, I can hear the calls of the prairie dogs as I walk through their colony, which is actually called a dog town, or as I like to call it, Squeakopolis.
These calls are part of a highly complex and nuanced language. Prairie dog vocabulary is more advanced than any other animal language that scientists have been able to decode.
But right now, I think they're just telling me to scram. They are literally on every single side of me. And it's interesting because as soon as one raises the alarm, that alarm spreads from one den to the next. You see one pop up from the hole, start screaming, and then other ones start popping up and screaming in tandem with them. And that kind of like travels down like a shockwave of sorts. It's very interesting.
Alert calls are a big part of their vocabulary. And while to an untrained ear it all sounds like a dog's chew toy, they can actually get very descriptive.
Oh my gosh, this colony is just making a racket. They're communicating among each other to let each other know what they're seeing. And all of those squeaks and chirps have very specific meanings.
There are a lot of sounds, that's for sure.
The massive colonies are made up of family units called coteries. The families usually consist of one breeding male, several females, as well as their pups. These sister wives will stick together their entire lives, while the males will move on and try to find other females to mate with every year. Typical. The families even have their own language, allowing them to tell kin from stranger.
They don't just have cute sounds, they have a multitude of cute sounds. And they all mean something very specific. They've developed pretty much their own language.
Despite their massive numbers, they only mate once a year in early winter, and females only enter estrus for a single hour.
1 hour! Once a year!
She'll have a litter of 3 to 8 pups, and only half of them will survive their first year. These little families are super tight-knit, though they're not always very good neighbors. The males are super protective about their harem, and won't hesitate to try and bite any trespassers. There is also a theory that family units will call out to alert a predator to start a jump yip, what dogs would call a howl, and then quickly they'll shut up. So when the predator is closer, it's the other families that are making lots of noise and calling attention to themselves. Wherever you find large colonies of animals, you're also bound to find large amounts of their bones. So I just found a little lower jaw. See how deep it is back here? There's a lot of room for muscle attachment. And the more muscle you've got to work that jaw, the stronger your bite force is. I didn't just find a jaw, I also found a skull. Look at this beauty. You see these sharp incisors at the front? Yeah, you don't want to get bit by that. It could do a lot of damage. These incisors will keep on growing their entire lives because they need to keep using them every single day for every little thing. They don't just use them for eating, they also use it for maintenance. They keep their area as tidy as possible so they always have a clear vantage point. If you hadn't already guessed given the setting, black-tailed prairie dogs primarily eat grass. But they are opportunistic and will eat forbs, roots, sagebrush, and cacti, even insects given the chance.
So this prairie dog spotted me, sounded an alarm, and then scampered off from that hole to the next one, hoping to lose me.
The holes that they pop out of are part of a vast underground network of tunnels. The biggest dog town ever discovered was 64,000 square kilometers, which is just a bit larger than Manhattan.
Oh my gosh, this prairie dog really knows how to pick a home. Right at the exit to his burrow, he's got this incredible view. Look at all that. Oh, I'm just gonna have a romantic sunset with my new friend, the prairie dog.
These mega dog towns can be home to as many as 400 million prairie dogs at a time. But since their tunnel networks are so massive, a lot of other species use them for shelter.
You definitely need to be cautious while approaching a prairie dog's den, because you never know what kind of animal might actually spring out of it. As a keystone species of the prairies, the burrows they dig serve as homes for all kinds of prairie dwellers, such as shorthorn lizards, burrowing owls, and swift foxes.
These are just a few of the dangers that prairie dogs have to deal with. With such massive colonies, prairie dogs are the #1 source of food for many grassland predators. In fact, prairie dogs support at least 136 other species in the grasslands, which is nice for the 136 other species, but kinda sucks for the prairie dogs. Thanks for taking one for the team, little buddies. Their 2 advantages are that they can call out to alert their compatriots of danger, and they can escape through their massive, winding network of tunnels.
It's sunset, and things are getting wild in the dog town. Right now, we're experiencing some of the incredible pressures that prairie dogs experience. There is a coyote out there scanning for its next meal, as well as a burrowing owl. Whew, don't envy these guys right now.
Coyotes have been observed teaming up with badgers in order to hunt prairie dogs. Coyotes are built for speed, but they're too big to pursue their prey into tunnels. Badgers, on the other hand, are clunky runners but built for digging. And so they have formed a mutualistic relationship. The coyote will chase the prairie dogs on land, and when they run into a tunnel, the badger will be waiting inside, having gone in from the other side. Or, if the prairie dog is already underground, the badger will charge in to flush it out, where the coyote will be waiting.
These prairie dogs are pretty much the cornerstone of the ecosystem here in Grasslands National Park. They play a role for just about every species out here.
Because they are such an important prey species, when their numbers take a hit, it releases a wave through their habitat that has a profoundly negative impact on the species that rely on them to survive.
Prairie dog numbers have gone down by 95% since Europeans arrived in North America.
Part of this is due to the bubonic plague, brought to North America by rats on ships, which decimated prairie dog populations in the 1800s. Yet the plague still persists today, and when it hits a colony, it will wipe it off the map. The other big impact we've had on them is destroying their habitat to create farmland. Cattle outgraze prairie dogs, and quickly will eat all the food that would otherwise be consumed by the prairie dogs.
As grazing competition for cattle and being potentially destructive for crops, many farmers have seen these prairie dogs as pests and have thus eradicated them from many of their natural ranges.
As a result of all of this, the black-footed ferret, which is a species of ferret that has evolved to primarily eat prairie dogs, is endangered. They've tragically been extirpated from the park. Sadly, there's just not enough prairie dogs to go around anymore.
Here in Grasslands National Park, despite the hundreds of prairie dogs that you see around me, there are still not enough to reintroduce the black-footed ferret into the park.
But there are several ongoing conservation programs, and hopefully soon we will see a resurgence of the prairie dogs and the many endangered animals that rely on them.
Oh, I heard the squeak, and I see him now. There's a prairie dog straight ahead of me. We'll approach cautiously, see how close we can get. Oh, they're so small and so sweet. They're like fuzzy baked potatoes. Oh, he sees me now. Curious though. This one's small and doesn't seem to have the black tip of the tail. I dare say it's actually a ground squirrel.
Black-tailed prairie dogs share the park with the more northerly Richardson's ground squirrel, commonly called the prairie gopher. They can be tough to tell apart from a distance, as they are quite similar looking. But the ground squirrels are about half the size of the prairie dogs, and they lack their characteristic black-tipped tail. The females live in social groups made up of only their female kin. The males, on the other hand, do not socialize with anyone. As a result, they get into some pretty epic confrontations.
Oh my gosh, I can see two tussling over here. I'm gonna try and catch up to them. Ah! Andres, can you see these guys tussling? Oh yeah, they're playing a game of tag or something. It's really bittersweet leaving this place. I'm very happy to see it thriving, but I am sad to leave it. Bye, Grasslands. Hope to see you again soon. Today we're in Grasslands National Park in Saskatchewan, named for You guessed it, it's incredible natural grasses. And we're on our way to go and visit one of its smaller residents.
The swift fox, aka Vulpes velox, is actually one of the smallest of fox species in North America.
Their name makes them sound like the fox version of the Flash, and that wouldn't be an inappropriate comparison.
These foxes are sweet and petite, typically about 30 centimeters tall, weighing about 2.5 kilos, and they can be up to a meter long. Their tails are long and make up about 50% of their total length. Their ears are pointy and quite large relative to their bodies.
So what I'm saying is these foxes are mostly ears and tails.
They are smaller and more slender than their relative, the red fox, and are lighter in color. Swift foxes are identified by their dark gray and tan coat, which changes to orange and tan fur on the sides and legs, with white or buff fur on the chest and belly. But the most distinguishing traits of the swift fox are the black patches of fur on either side of the snout and a black tip on its bushy tail.
Swift foxes live in dens. They rely heavily on these underground burrows because they spend so much of their time there. I just found a den in this little hill here that qualifies and probably fits all the check marks for a swift fox's den. I can't dare disturb it, but it's really cool to see this right in front of me.
Dens are usually 2 to 4 meters in length with 4 entrances to avoid being cornered by predators. These entrances are small, which also allows swift foxes to quickly escape from larger predators who won't fit inside.
These kinds of low slopes with sparse vegetation are the perfect spot for a swift fox to build a den. It gives them the perfect vantage point to be able to scan their entire location. Their main predators are coyotes, but swift foxes are also hunted by badgers, horned owls, golden eagles, hawks, and bobcats.
Like most foxes, swift foxes are nocturnal and are rarely seen outside the den during the day. But just because they're homebodies doesn't mean each den is a forever home. Swift foxes are known to use up to 13 different dens in a year and will move from place to place if there's scarcity of available food or a buildup of bothersome parasites. Rather than digging a brand new den with each move, they're often found living in abandoned badger holes.
Don't work hard, work smart.
When they're above ground, swift foxes prefer prairie grasslands like those found here in the Grasslands National Park. Actually, 1/6 of the Canadian population can be found here. The rest of the Canadian population are found across the Great Plains of Saskatchewan and Alberta. In the United States, swift foxes are found in similar prairie environments. Swift foxes live in pairs and have been known to mate for life, although some choose to only stay with a partner for the year.
Both male and female swift foxes take on the responsibility of raising young, and their pups are born underground in the dens.
Breeding usually occurs between January and March, with a gestation period of about 50 days. The average litter consists of 4 to 5 swift kits.
At birth, swift fox pups are blind, as their eyes remain closed for up to 15 days. This makes them completely reliant on their parents for the first few weeks of their lives.
Swift foxes are just that, swift, a necessity when trying to outrun predators or catch food. As for their diet, swift foxes have evolved to feed on a little bit of everything. They adapt their diet according to the availability of food sources and are known as opportunistic foragers. These omnivores can be found eating anything from insects and grass to reptiles and even carrion. Due to a lack of resources at times, they can't afford to be picky.
All right, I know what you're thinking. For fox's sake, Danielle, enough with the background. We're dying to know how this tiny fox nearly went extinct when it would eat almost anything. Well, buckle up, because things are about to get grim, and swiftly.
Historically, the swift fox was actually considered an abundant predator of the prairies. According to fur trading records dating back to the mid-1800s, swift foxes were once so abundant that 117,000 were trapped in a 20-year period. Then, in Canada, in the 1930s, swift foxes completely disappeared from the wild. So what happened to these sweetest of Swifties? In the early 1900s, when Canadian territories were becoming more populated and both agriculture and ranching became extensive, the loss of natural grasslands habitat absolutely gutted the Canadian swift fox population. They also faced threat from excessive trapping for their furs. Swift foxes are known to be curious beings without a healthy fear of humans, so they became vulnerable to shooting and trapping. Then, they faced inadvertent poisoning as a result of farmers trying to kill other pesky creatures, like prairie dogs, ground squirrels, and coyotes. If they didn't ingest the poison themselves, they could eat insects containing pesticides, causing sickness or death. Another factor that impacted swift fox habitats is cattle, which eventually replaced the bison as the main ruminant in their prairie ecosystem. Because of this, grasses became taller. There was a loss of prairie dogs, which resulted in a loss of dens and prey for swift foxes. Would they ever catch a break? Fortunately, since the 1970s, conservationists have been working on reintroducing the swift fox to the Canadian prairies in order to re-establish a small, self-sustaining population. Some of these releases were even made in Grasslands National Park. And thanks to these reintroductions, there are now several hundred swift foxes in these areas. Despite this, today, swift foxes occupy less than half of their historic range in the United States, and less than 90% of their historic range in Canada. They still face habitat fragmentation and poisoning. Conservationists believe that swift foxes can be considered indicators of an intact grasslands ecosystem, and that conserving habitat for swift foxes benefits other wildlife species. Further, the swift fox isn't a threat to today's farmers and are even beneficial since they prey on insects, mice, and other rodents. The survival of the swift fox and the preservation of the natural prairies are closely linked. We're rooting for you, swift foxes! The Canada lynx is the most northern-dwelling wildcat in the world. Found mostly in Canada and Alaska, its range is massive and more northerly than any other feline, with its cousin, the Eurasian lynx, being a very close second. The Canada lynx's range is limited by the tree line, relying on the cover of foliage to hide their approach from their prey. As climate change is warming the globe, the northern edge of their range will expand as it becomes warm enough for trees to grow, making the Canada lynx one of the few species that benefits from climate change, at least in this one very specific instance. To get a closer look at them, we traveled to the boreal forests of the Yukon during an early winter cold snap. Temperatures were balmy, peaking at about minus 45 degrees Celsius, but the frozen noses and toes were worth it to see one of the most iconic yet elusive cats in the world. We finally made it all the way to the Yukon. This is the furthest north I have ever been. We're here to look for some of North America's most incredible cold climate creatures. The Canada lynx's range overlaps with the cougar around the slopes of the mountains of the Pacific Northwest. But luckily, they avoid conflict by going after different prey. Usually. Cougars can weigh up to 100 kilograms and routinely hunt for sheep, goats, and deer, which can be even larger than they are. Canada lynx are much smaller, about the size of an English Cocker Spaniel with a maximum weight of 15 kilograms. The Canada lynx is the second largest member of their genus, after the Eurasian lynx. But they're much larger than their other two cousins, the endangered Iberian lynx and the bobcat, which is technically a lynx.
Oh, look at those fluffy tails.
This might seem surprising, because at first sight, they look like large house cats. But they're basically just a thick coat of fur wrapped around 4 stilts. Their fur is about 10 centimeters long in the winter, so if you were to poke one, your finger would disappear in their fur, and then you'd lose it. You shouldn't poke a lynx. #science.
These frosty felines have extra long hind limbs, but they're not designed for a long-distance chase. What they are good for is bounding out of the snow and pouncing on their prey.
Living in environments full of ice and snow for most of the year makes chasing impractical. So Canada lynx, much like foxes, polar bears, and other northern carnivores, are ambush predators. But before going out on the hunt, you need a big stretch to limber out. Stretch. Oh, that's good. They use their amazing sense of smell and hearing to find their prey's dens. They wait patiently for them to come out, and then they strike. This lynx is on the prowl. Just beyond the tree line, it spotted its next meal. A mallard. It waits patiently for the mallard to get within striking distance. Its gray coat camouflages the lynx perfectly against a tree. And then, it pounces. It quickly snaps the mallard's neck, punctures its throat, and carries it off into the woods to devour.
The lynx calls the boreal forest its home and never really travels beyond the tree line into the tundra because it is so closely reliant on its food sources in the forest.
Canada lynx are one of the most specialized predators on Earth. One single prey species can make up to 97% of their diet in parts of their range. For Canada lynx living in those areas, their lives depend on the deaths of snowshoe hares. This reliance on snowshoe hares is particularly important in the northern part of their range, where there isn't much else to eat. An average lynx catches 3 hares a week, and when there are too many lynx, this causes a hare population collapse. Every 8 to 11 years, snowshoe hare populations dip below a critical point, and the local lynx are unable to get enough food to survive. Snowshoe hare density can fall from over 2,300 hares per square kilometer to about 12 hares per square kilometer in under 2 years. That's a 99.99% decline in the span it took to reboot Spider-Man. The lynx are then forced to leave the area, sometimes traveling up to 1,000 kilometers in search of food. They will have no babies for up to 2 years. Many lynx starve during this period. Some die of natural causes, exacerbated by the lack of food, and others are forced to go for more dangerous prey and end up dying. This causes a collapse in lynx populations, which eventually leads to a recovery of the snowshoe hares. Then the lynx return, they start having babies, and the cycle starts anew. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. These cats only live where snowshoe hares are abundant, and because they face the same environmental challenges, they have convergently evolved to be very similar.
The old saying, "you are what you eat," does seem to apply to the Canada lynx because it shares a few adaptations with its main prey, the snowshoe hare.
One of the biggest issues for small animals in these regions is how to get around when there are several feet of snow on the ground for over half of the year. Getting stuck in a snowbank can easily be fatal.
The lynx's paws are truly massive. This helps them distribute their weight across the snow and acts very much like a snowshoe. Yet another thing it has in common with the snowshoe hare.
They're up to 10 centimeters across, which is cartoonishly huge for an animal their size. It would be like a beagle having paws the size of paperbacks. They have short tails and ears to reduce heat loss, and they have 2 layers of densely packed fur to keep them warm at temperatures as cold as -60 degrees Celsius. Here in the Yukon, we were lucky to see a brand new mom.
It is extremely beautiful here, but it's just as cold as it is pretty. Everything is just frosted and dusted with snow. Apparently there's giant mountains here. I just can't see them yet through all the snow. We arrived here in the Yukon pretty late last night, just past midnight. There's only about 4 hours of sunlight per day here. So we need to work fast. Try and find some animals, get some good footage. We're about to go see some Canada lynx, and I am so beyond excited. These animals are one of my favorites on the planet. Oh my God, here they come. There's Mama and her kitten. Go. Oh. Did you hear that? Yeah.
The mating season is spring, and babies are born in early summer, so this kitten is about 5 months old. She'll stay with her mom until next spring, but won't become sexually mature until the following year. At this age, she can go out with mom on her hunts.
Oh, that's a feisty little kitten. She's trying to snag the meat away from her own mom.
Snowshoe hares are still the main priority, but they won't reject carrion or other easy-to-catch prey like grouse. Canada lynx are more active at night, but their great senses of smell and hearing can alert them to roadkill or other available prey. In this case, it's the remains of a bird. At night, when they're out on the hunt, they're more likely to run into other lynxes in their range who are doing the same thing. These conflicts can get awkward. We get it. You don't like each other. The Canada lynx has disappeared from the most southerly limits of its range, but is still relatively abundant in most of Canada and Alaska. It's considered a threatened species in the contiguous 48 states, but it has been successfully reintroduced to Rocky Mountains in Colorado, and there, their populations are growing. If you live somewhere near snowshoe hares, keep an eye out for one of the world's most unique, beautiful, and mysterious cats. You could be in the presence of a Canada lynx. Being this close to a mama lynx and her cub was incredibly heartwarming, and we couldn't get enough. So we left the Yukon and drove 400 kilometers to Alaska to meet up with Steve Kroschel, who happens to be friends with a big male lynx. So, for the second time this week,
I am hanging out with a Canada lynx. Our first stop here at the Kroschel Nature Center is to see a lynx. They've got a male one here, and his name is Lennox.
This is the land of misfit animals. Walk with me, Danielle.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to enter the lynx enclosure.
Keep walking, Danielle. Come right with me now. We are friends, after all.
Wish me luck.
I will protect you. Now, I've never let anybody come in here before.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
this is a first. And you just
Well,
surprised me.
thank
So
you. Thank you for the
close the
honor.
door. Now, it's a wild and dangerous animal. It's in its territory. You see, so go ahead and shoot. Shoot, you should be
Oh,
safe.
I am.
You should be safe. And
This is such an honor to be sharing space with the lynx.
Well.
This is a dream.
yeah, they're. I worked with lynx my whole life.
Yeah.
The ethology, you see. Now, what I'm going to do here, because he's curious, walk over here on this right side, so I'll protect you. I'm giving you the space. And what we're going to do is just talk to him here. Now, I have various calls, and I'd like you to make these calls.
Oh, I'd love to.
The call is as follows. Yeah, see? Perfect. Okay, now toss this tidbit, this part.
Okay.
Your glove mitten's going to be dirty, but is that
That's
okay?
fine. I can wash them.
Now, call it. Now toss it down. Make that call again, Danielle. Okay, here's some more.
Can I?
Now throw it. That's it.
I do spend all day talking to my cat in her language, so this isn't so different.
Good job, Danielle.
Thank you.
You're building a relationship. Come on over here. Now just.
He's really been marking this carcass,
Now,
eh?
yeah. Now what you want to do
Yeah.
is just purr, because they do purr. You see. No, like this.
Oh, that's a very different purr.
Yeah. Well, you're building a relationship with the lynx. You like
Beautiful.
that?
It's one of my dreams come true, essentially.
He did not become aggressive.
So kind.
See, you give off a frequency that the animal can understand. That's the thing. Various people give off various frequencies, and animals can read it. They read honesty, sincerity, and all of these good things, all these virtues, and the animal can tell that.
I believe in that very much. All the animals I've ever had in my life have been great judges of character from the get-go.
That's the lie detector of the wild.
Of course, the don't pet a lynx rule doesn't apply if you're Steve.
Oh. Oh, that was so sweet.
Thanks for having us.
Today, we're talking about Ardea herodias, otherwise known as the great blue heron. Ardea in Latin stands for heron. Herodias in Greek also stands for heron. This just goes to show that the great blue is truly the heron of all herons. The great blue heron makes most of North America its home. It even resides as far south as Colombia. This species has the ability to adapt to almost any wetland in its range, making itself at home wherever it settles. Vagrants have even braved the Atlantic with sightings as far-flung as the Canary Islands and the Azores and France. In 2007, a great blue heron juvenile was spotted on the Isles of Scilly in the UK. Talk about a long-haul flight. This giraffical bird has several subspecies. Ardea herodias fanini, which lives in the Pacific Northwest. Ardea herodias cognata, which lives in the Galapagos Islands, and Ardea hiradias occidentalis, otherwise known as the great white heron, which resides in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. Who could blame them for wanting to make a tropical island their forever home? These necky-beckies are massive. An average adult is over 1 meter tall, with a wingspan of almost double their height. But despite their size, they're still lightweights at about 2 to 3 kilograms. You were probably born heavier than that. I know I was. That massive wingspan helps them achieve breakneck speeds of over 50 kilometers an hour. When flying, the great blue heron often pulls its neck into a characteristic S shape. This S-curved neck isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it also helps the heron catch its prey. Its neck acts like a spring-loaded weapon to propel its sharp beak towards its target. Herons are incredibly patient hunters, standing motionless, sometimes for minutes on end, to wait for the right moment to strike. The prey of these expert fishers isn't just fish, though. They're also known to eat amphibians, snakes, turtles, insects, small water birds, and even mammals, like chipmunks and muskrats. Although its name makes it sound like it's experiencing a serious bout of depression, it's its size and great beautiful plumage that earns the great blue its name. As adults, these tall drinks of water are covered in slaty blue feathers. They're adorned with a white crown, with a black stripe running back from each eye and merging beautifully into long black plumes. The crown and plume make up an erectile crest, which is a naughty-sounding collection of feathers that can stand at attention. But those plumes aren't the only fascinating feathers these great blue herons feature. The great blue has patches of powder down its breast and pelvic region. The heron will nibble on these specialized clusters of feathers, also called pulvi plumes, to turn them into keratin powder. They then spread the powder over other feathers to create a waterproof barrier. Pulvi plumes don't molt, but continue to grow as they are delicately munched off by the heron. Other species like parrots and tinamous also have these waterproofing plumes. Herons display relatively little sexual dimorphism. The only distinct difference between the sexes is that great blue heron males can be slightly different than their female counterparts. Just when you started to think that males are always the pretty ones in the bird kingdom. Instead of fancy feathers, these gangly Romeos have found other ways to show their romantic intentions to their potential mates. They use their long and sexy necks. Most individuals fly solo for the majority of the year, but come together during breeding season to form colonies, also known as heronries. And the heronry is where the magic happens.
There he is, there he is.
They're so thin.
Ah, too fast.
At the beginning of the mating season, the males arrive fashionably early at their traditional breeding grounds and scope out and defend their ideal nesting spot high in the trees. They often stake out old nests, sometimes returning to the same grounds for decades at a time. A week later, the ladies swoop in, looking for love. Let the elaborate displays of courtship begin. Males will stretch up their necks with their beaks to the sky. They'll snap their beaks. They'll circle the colony with necks outstretched. They'll make moaning calls. They'll reach their heads up and erect their neck feathers. To the females, I guess the male's long neck is truly his sexiest feature. Courting is a weeks-long process that ends with the male inviting the female into his nest, but only, of course, after some complex ritualistic bill fencing and stick displays. Romance is an intricate game for the great blue herons. But all this action helps the two lovebirds create a bond necessary to raise their offspring as a solid team. Once they've paired off, the male will gather sticks and carefully pass them to the female to place in the nest. They'll line it with moss, pine needles, or grasses, also gathered by the male. They'll take turns incubating their clutch of 2 to 6 pale blue eggs, with the males sitting atop the eggs during the day, and the females taking over for the night shift. Once the eggs hatch, they continue to co-parent until their little ones take flight 2 to 3 months later. Though the fledglings may still stick close to the nest for another 3 weeks or so, with mom and dad still providing the occasional snack. Great blue herons don't mate for life, so before that empty nest syndrome sets in, mom and dad will part ways and this hard-won romance will be officially over. Love is truly a fleeting thing in the world of birds. Today we're at Hawkeye, a raptor facility in Ontario, meeting one of the fluffiest and crankiest birds in the world. Meet Tank! This is the resident great horned owl. Their name is a bit of a misnomer. Their horns are called plumicorns, and they're just tufts of feathers, which seem to be used for communication. Most of their close relatives in the Dubeau genus also have plumicorns, but they're most commonly found in Eurasia, where they're known as eagle owls. Their only other close relative in North America is the snowy owl, which is slightly larger, but it doesn't have Bella Hadid's brows, so it's not considered a horned owl. This makes the great horned owl the largest bird of its kind in the Americas. Would it be possible for you to take him for a second? My arms are shivering, he's heavy. You might be wondering, why is he called Tank? That's because this bird is an apex predator. It'll take down anything in the forest. As you can see, these guys are huge. They can get up to 2.5 kilograms with a wingspan of 1.5 meters, just a bit smaller than the largest owl in the world, their tufted cousin, the blackiston fish owl from East Asia. This size helps them catch a huge array of prey, including relatively large animals such as snowshoe hares, large lizards, and marmots. This diverse diet has led them to being nicknamed the red-tailed hawk of the night, due to the hawk's famously voracious eating habits. There's also been accounts of these birds attacking porcupines. Now, it doesn't usually end well for this guy, but at least he tries. Of course, their diet largely depends on their environment. In areas with relatively few mammals, they're more than happy to go for birds. Some of them are pretty large, such as wild turkey, ravens, and the bird who wakes up every day and chooses violence, the Canada goose. But their mortal enemies are the crows. Great horned owls and crows hate each other. For an easy snack, a great horned owl will swoop in and decapitate the crow. But if it gets away, the crow will call for backup. Soon, the murder will arrive and mob the owl, diving at it, trying to knock it off its perch. If there's enough of them, they'll kill the great horned owl. It's pretty metal. Now, if the prey is small enough, great horned owls will eat it whole. That doesn't mean that everything gets digested, though. Things like bones, nails, teeth, fur, feather, all of that will be regurgitated. About 15 hours after feeding, what they regurgitate is in the form of these tiny little pellets that if you're lucky enough to find one, you can actually dissect and put the bones together to see what exactly it was this guy ate. Perfect for date night.
Shake your booty, baby. One more time.
This hunting ability has helped them conquer the Americas. There are great horned owls from Alaska to Argentina. Their range was considered to be even larger, but the Patagonian population was determined to be a separate species and was named the lesser horned owl. A bit rude, but okay. Throughout their immense range, its appearance varies, but you can predict their size and color based on the local climate.
You might notice that Tank here is just a little bit lighter than the great horned owls that you see in photos. That's because he's a subspecies of the great horned owls from the subarctic. This lighter coloring helps them camouflage better in their environment.
In warmer and more humid climates, they tend to be darker, as that gives them better camouflage in forests. Additionally, humid areas are full of bacteria, and darker feathers are more resistant to them. Like in almost every other species, those individuals living in colder climates tend to be larger than their warmer weather conspecifics. This helps them keep more fat reserves for the winter, and by having a smaller surface area relative to body size, it prevents them from losing heat too quickly. In warmer areas, being smaller helps keep them cool, and since food is generally more abundant, they don't need large fat reserves. But when they do need to eat, they go hunting at night, their senses perfectly adapted to find scurrying prey in the dark.
This guy, proportionally to its body size, has some of the biggest eyes in terrestrial vertebrates.
Their eyes are also cylindrical. This combination of huge retinas with a high density of light-sensitive rod cells and telephoto-like lenses gives them great acuity in near pitch-dark environments. But since their prey are also great at hiding, they have super sensitive ears that help them hear the faintest moves of their next prey. Their ears are asymmetrical, with one higher than the other. This helps them find the source of any sound in a 3D environment, which is particularly helpful for a flying predator. Once their prey is found, they attack.
These birds are silent but violent. They've got two features that help them move very quietly in the forest. One of those features is having really soft feathers. This means that when they ruffle around, they don't make too much of a sound.
The second one is their comb-like structures on the edges of their feathers. They decrease the amount of noisy, turbulent air produced when they flap their wings. For comparison, take a listen to the noises peregrine falcons make, and the loud flying of a Harris's hawk. Ugh, my ears! And then, listen to the soothing whoosh of the great horned owl's flight. If you're a forest animal, you can go from having a pretty good day to meeting your great-grandparents in the ancestral plane in a blink of an eye. But just being good at sneaking up on prey doesn't make you an apex predator. In the great horned owl's case, their killer weapons are their smoky-colored guns, their talons.
These birds are strong birds. Their talon strength can go up to 400 psi.
This makes them as strong as the famously grabby golden eagle, a giant raptor that can be 3 times as heavy as this owl. Hunting is not only used for sustenance, but also as a way to get a partner. Males court females by bringing them food. If she's impressed, they'll become a pair and will fly around looking for a nesting site. Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
These birds don't actually build their own nests. They steal nests from other birds of prey, like the red-tailed hawk.
In the colder parts of North America, they'll start nesting earlier than most other birds. They establish their nest in the late fall, and their babies are born in the winter, which gives them lots of time to grow and prepare for the next winter. This early breeding schedule is only possible by the relative abundance of hares that time of the year. So thank you, bugs. It's because of you that these cute babies can thrive and eventually become the apex predators of the forest. Before we go, let's take another look at fluffy baby owls. So ugly, yet so cute. Aww.
Today we are in Grasslands National Park and we are looking for burrowing owls.
So right behind me is a very large prairie dog colony.
and I think I just saw a smallish bird, kind of brown, fly off into the distance. The fact that we're near this prairie dog colony, where there are a lot of burrows, makes me think that what I saw was actually a burrowing owl. These superb owls are a subspecies of the burrowing owl, which lives all the way from Canada to Argentina. Their preferred habitats are in the Caribbean, the North American plains, and the South American savannas, all the way down to Patagonia. There are 18 subspecies, and the local one, the western burrowing owl, spends the summers having babies here, and winters in warmer locations like Mexico and Central America. Although it may not look like it right now, this area gets ridiculously cold in the winter, with temperatures dropping to almost -40 degrees Celsius. In the summer, though, the weather is beautiful, the skies are blue, and the prey is abundant. Burrowing owls are amazing hunters. Equally lethal in the air and on the ground, these cute little killers specialize in small prey. Small rodents and large insects like crickets and beetles are their favorite meals. They have all the available bird tools to find their prey. Their heads are mostly eyes, which are optimized for low light settings. They're also unusual among owls in that they're active during the day, as their prey is mostly diurnal. It makes sense that we saw the burrowing owl just as the sun was going down. Even though it's a diurnal bird, they do tend to be more active during dusk and dawn, and we're just about nearing dusk. If we can hold on a little bit longer, we might get a chance to look at them again. Their ears, like in other owls, are asymmetrical, so they can pinpoint the location of their prey in the x-axis, like we can, but also on the y-axis, a helpful tool for a flying hunter. Underneath this grass, the land is teeming with animal activity. Some of them even become accidental engineers for burrowing owls. Their name comes from their nesting sites, which are built by other burrowing animals. Around here, they take up residence in the vast tunnel networks of their prairie dogs. A very characteristic behavior of burrowing owls is standing right on top of the mound of dirt that the prairie dogs have excavated for their own burrows. When you see the prairie dogs, you should scan the mounds to see if the burrowing owls are nearby. Their dens are lined with ungulate poop, usually from bison or cattle. This isn't some sort of Baroque decoration choice, but rather a practical solution that solves two problems. Number one, it helps to insulate the burrow and keeps the internal temperature relatively constant. And number two, it attracts insects such as dung beetles, which are then eaten faster than the blink of a bright yellow eye. It's kind of like the strategy used by the witch in Hansel and Gretel, but instead of a house made of candy, it's a hole full of feces. But if it works, it works. Being somewhat vulnerable to predators, they have learned to use the methods of another local burrow dweller, the rattlesnake. So right now, we're keeping a safe distance from the burrowing owl, but if we or other predators get closer to its burrow, it actually makes the sound that sounds like a little bit like a rattlesnake. That is an example of mimicry in order to scare away predators who might be coming inside to get at the eggs of the burrowing owl. They did not migrate all the way here just to have their eggs stolen by a bunch of mammals. Their dark brown coat actually helps them camouflage in this environment, which makes it great for the owl to escape from the predators, but makes my life about 10 times harder. Owl parents raise up to 12 chicks simultaneously. But wait, how does such a small mama owl fit so many eggs in her little body? She lays the eggs one by one, every 1 to 2 days over about 2 weeks. Then they'll hatch roughly at the same time about 25 days later. The chicks learn to fly at a month old, but the parents keep feeding them until they're 3 months old. By then, it'll be almost time to start making their way south to their wintering grounds. Given that the burrowing owl's range extends all the way from BC down to Florida, it actually overlaps with a lot of other owl species. If you're specifically on the lookout for burrowing owls, though, here are some characteristics that you should keep in mind. Burrowing owls are tiny, measuring only 9 inches tall. They're slightly larger than a robin, but smaller than a crow, and quite puny compared to other owls found in the Americas. Oh, he's heavier than the last guy. Wow, it is so much smaller than I thought it would be. It looks so similar to the groundhogs, but it moves in a different way, and its structure is so different as it's standing on a mound. From this distance, you can tell that they don't have the ear tufts that you would usually expect owls to have, but they do have a very symmetrical, round face. One unique characteristic of the burrowing owl is their legs. Usually, owl species like the snowy owls have short, stubby legs with very furry talons and claws. Burrowing owl legs instead are very long and skinny and don't have that much fur, giving them a very elegant but odd look. Unlike other owls, they also don't have a face disc, but they have these amazing white emotive eyebrows that always makes them look like they're just a little bit angry. They also use their eyebrows to signal distress. Lucky for them, burrowing owls don't have many reasons to be distressed, since they're doing much better than other owl species. Burrowing owls adapt really well to human environments and are commonly seen in farmlands, airports, and golf courses. The deforestation of the Amazon rainforest for cattle ranching has opened up new feeding grounds for them, even though it's causing the disappearance of thousands of other species. That doesn't mean that humans are always a positive force for the burrowing owls. In fact, diseases often come from industrial facilities. Right now, they're fighting avian flu, which originates in chicken farms and has taken a deadly toll on wild birds all over the world. Raptors like owls and hawks are especially vulnerable, and in most cases, it's lethal. Burrowing owls in zoos are currently off exhibit and in quarantine to protect them from this deadly disease. Humans also have a contentious relationship with prairie dogs. These rodents are often seen as pests and subsequently eradicated. But without them, burrowing owls and other species lose their primary burrow makers and their prime nesting areas. There are so many reasons to protect the burrowing owls. When you protect burrowing owl habitat, you also protect a host of other species. One example is that noise that you hear in the background, which are black-tailed prairie dogs. If we protect burrowing owls, we by extension also protect the habitat for this species. The second reason to conserve burrowing owls is that they are a natural pest control. The majority of their diet is made up of insects, such as grasshoppers. So when we conserve these burrowing owls, we're actually helping to maintain the balance in the ecosystem between the insects, the birds, and the animals. So there you have it, the cutest migrating killer in all of North America. If you want to spot one, come down to Saskatchewan. Right behind me is a bald eagle. Bald eagles have had a tough time on the internet as of late. Compared to the massive size of the harpy, wedge-tailed, Philippine, and stellar sea eagles, bald eagles are pretty small. The largest bald eagle is only about as heavy as the smallest harpy eagle. But that doesn't mean these fierce predators are simply upgraded pigeons. No offense, pigeons. The bald eagle's wingspan is still huge. It's about 2 meters, and it's on par with even the biggest eagles. I mean, look at him. Does he look small to you? You will not like this guy when he's angry. The bald eagle is a species in the genus Haliaetus, also known as the sea or fish eagles. These eagles rule the shoreline with an iron talon. But all of them live exclusively in Canada, northern Mexico, and of course, the United States. The northern birds mostly migrate south in the winter, although some have been known to winter in British Columbia for the annual salmon run. Being birds of prey, these birds will take whatever they can get to eat, but their favorite food is fish. Isn't that right? While typically a solitary bird, during the salmon run in the fall, bald eagles gather in massive groups to take advantage of the plenty. The trees quickly fill up with eagles, and real estate along the shoreline is hotly contested. Only the biggest eagles can maintain their prime fishing spots. But even these Goliaths face challengers now and again. Battles can be life or death. Their love of fish is the main reason bald eagles like to make their nests near large bodies of open water, like the ocean coast, marshes, lakes, or riverbeds. If there's fish in that water, it'll do.
Despite being birds of prey, these eagles are largely kleptoparasitic. But I'll let Danielle tell you a little bit more about that, since she got to experience that behavior firsthand.
Despite being America's ultimate symbol of power and freedom, the bald eagle is actually a kleptoparasite, stealing most of its meals from other hardworking animals.
Yeah, he just stole it.
It is absolutely wild out here. I just witnessed a bald eagle dive into the water and steal a fish from a sea lion and then fly right over my head. Easy as that. Just pursued by a whole group of gulls. This is nature at its best right here.
Thanks, Danielle. Bald eagles like to nest in old-growth coniferous or hardwood trees. The perfect nest is near water, has a great view, is 20 meters above ground, and has enough shelter and coverage from nearby trees.
They can also build their nests in swamps, on the shoreline, in pinelands, or even in lone, tall trees in the prairies. And although they do their best to avoid humans, they have been found in large cities like Portland and Vancouver.
One family of eagles even nested in the middle of Harlem, New York in 2010. Hey, I'm squawking here.
A bald eagle's nest is huge, bigger than any other birds in North America. They're typically 2 to 3 meters in both height and diameter. The largest known nest made by any animal ever was the work of a very industrious bald eagle. It was 4 meters deep, 2.5 meters across, and it weighed a ton. A literal ton.
Bald eagles get their name from their distinctive look.
First, there's the white crown. The eagle actually got its name because white-headed was an old-fashioned way of calling someone bald. The rest of their plumage is mainly brown, with some white accents here and there. The eagle has striking yellow eyes, yellow feet, and a sharp yellow beak. Not since Severus Snape has there been such an iconic hook schnoz. Yikes! Throw in the fact that they look like they're wearing shorts, because their feathers don't completely cover their legs. And you've got yourself a very fashionable national bird.
But why is the eagle the symbol of American patriotism?
After the United States became its own nation in 1776, the nation's founding fathers chose an eagle for their seal and emblem because it had always been associated with strength, independence, and authority. It didn't hurt that the ancient Romans had also used eagles as their symbol.
And since the new Americans like to compare themselves to the great and powerful Roman Empire, the bald eagle was a perfect fit. Making it even better is the fact that bald eagles are native only to North America. The bald eagle has a reputation of strength for a reason.
These powerful flyers use thermal convection currents to soar through the air, reaching speeds of 50 to 70 kilometers an hour when gliding, and 120 to 160 kilometers an hour while diving. Speed comes in handy when you're hunting. These ferocious flyers are fast and furious.
Their excellent eyesight also helps. Experts estimate that their vision is about 8 times better than humans. They don't call it eagle eye for nothing.
To catch fish, bald eagles watch the water from their perch or while soaring above in the sky. When they spot lunch, they quickly swoop down to the water and drop their feet right in to grab the fish. Their long talons are curved and razor sharp, perfectly designed to catch and hold their prey.
This is wild.
Rough, bumpy calluses on their toes also help them keep their grip on slippery, wiggly fish.
So we know all about hunting, but what about mating?
When a bald eagle is ready to breed, they'll often head back to where they were born. To court other eagles, they'll chase and swoop around them. They may fly up very high, lock talons with their paramour, and do a free fall before finally separating, just before hitting the ground. Intense, right? They take falling in love to a whole nother level.
Right now, we're in the natural habitat of the bald eagle, and if we're lucky, we'll be able to spot one. Bald eagles mate for life, and if they breed successfully, they will stick together and defend their 1 to 2 kilometer territory near water.
The couple will usually build their nests and lay eggs in February, begin incubating in March, and the eggs will hatch in the late spring. Baby bald eagles are fuzzy and brown. As they grow up, their head will gradually get lighter. They won't have their parents' distinctive white head and yellow bill until they're around 5 years old, which is also when they reach sexual maturity and can start breeding.
The average lifespan of a wild bald eagle is around 20 years. Some common causes of death could be hunting, power line electrocutions, pesticides, human interference, and pollution.
By the 1980s, the number of bald eagles in North America was getting dangerously low, mostly because of a pesticide called DDT, which affected their ability to lay healthy eggs. But government regulations banning the pesticide helped the population recover. The bald eagle was taken off the endangered list in the 90s and off the threatened category entirely in 2007.
So keep on thriving, you stately stud, and do your best to leave some fishes for the rest of us. Today, we're looking for the one, the only, the belted kingfisher. You've got to keep your ears open for this one. You might just hear it rattle right on by.
But before we go birding, let me tell you about this week's sponsor, BetterHelp. Listen, everybody has moments where they feel as blue as the belted kingfisher looks, which is why you might want to check out our video sponsor, BetterHelp. If there's something that's interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your dreams, try BetterHelp. They assess your needs and match you up with your own licensed professional therapist. BetterHelp isn't a crisis line or self-help. It's a professional and secure online network of counselors who offer a wide range of expertise. And it's available all over the world. You can log into your account anytime, send a message to your counselor, and get a timely, thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. No more awkward waiting rooms. BetterHelp wants to match you with a great therapist, so it's easy and free to switch counselors if you need. It's also more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and they offer financial aid. So visit betterhelp.com/animalogic. That's betterhelp.com and join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of experienced professionals. For Animalogic fans, get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/animalogic. Start living a happier life today. Belted kingfishers are extremely successful predatory birds. There are over 100 species of kingfisher distributed all over the world. As long as there's a body of water, and it's not frozen, they're likely to be there.
Not all kingfishers like wetland areas. There are some kingfishers that you'll find mostly in wooded or forested areas. Now, I know what you're saying, they have fish in their name though. Where are they getting this fish?
Well, not all kingfishers eat fish. They can eat grasshoppers, invertebrates, and some have been seen eating berries. Kingpicker just doesn't quite have the same ring to it if you ask me. They vary greatly in appearance. They can be minuscule, colorful cuties such as the wonderfully dapper dwarf oriental kingfisher. Or they can be large and puppet-like, such as the laughing kookaburra.
So kingfishers are actually quite easy to find, mostly because of their rattle. So you'll hear a kingfisher before you'll see one.
But today, we're taking a look at the fisher king of the Americas, the belted kingfisher. Their range is immense, and they can be found from Alaska to Venezuela, though North America is where they reign supreme. Canada is a productive breeding ground, and they've managed to fill nearly every river and lake. Their ubiquity has turned them into icons, and their image was used to adorn the $5 bill, until they were bumped for some kids on a toboggan. So today, we're at the shores of Lake Ontario, looking for our local kingfisher.
What'd you see?
Probably just popped off the nest.
It looks like
What'd
a
you see?
blade.
Oh, I saw a baby red-winged blackbird. It's still got little tufts around its eyes, and its wings are so tiny.
It really wasn't that hard to find them due to their loud and unmistakable call. And of course, their unmistakable look, from which they get their name.
For these belted kingfisher, it's females that have that characteristic orange belt.
The males are just a nice, bright blue. They have a white face and a blue-gray band across their chest. In most bird species, males are the colorful ones, as they use their fancy outfits to attract females, while females are usually more dull-looking, but have better camouflage.
The fact that kingfisher males are less brightly colored than females is actually an unusual event in the bird kingdom.
This area right here is prime kingfisher territory. It has clear, shallow water and trees directly above it. Kingfishers, as their name suggests, are OP fishermen. Their strategy consists of perching above the water, and when they see a viable fish or crustacean, they dive for it. Belted kingfishers can also hover above the water when there aren't any good perching trees around. But in this case, this area offers all the branches they need. Their eyes are like telescopes that can spot very small prey from up to 100 meters away. Each eye has 2 foveas. One is used to spot the prey. It sends a lot of information to the brain to help account for the refraction in the water, so they never miss. The other is better adapted to see underwater, allowing them to adjust their course upon entry. Inside of their eyeballs, they have special oils, which are thought to reduce glare, helping them better spot fish underwater. And since their eyes are crucial to their survival, they protect them while diving with a semi-translucent third eyelid. While looking for food, they're very territorial, and will let you know when you're cramping their style.
Like I mentioned, the kingfisher is known for its rattle, but when you spook a kingfisher enough or you make it angry enough, there is another sign. The kingfisher will raise its crest. Maybe that's to make itself look bigger. Another thing, they have these little white patches right by their eyes. Even those get raised when the kingfishers are angry. They're really telling you to back off.
Once the coast is clear and their prey is spotted, they dive. During their descent, they can reach speeds of 40 kilometers an hour. Their long beaks break the surface tension of the water, and their slender bodies become hydrodynamic once they hit the water. Even their crest is slicked back to maximize speed. The result is a feathered torpedo of death. The fish won't even know what hit it. They take their fish to a tree and smack it around to kill it. Then they flick it up with a twirl so they can swallow it in a single gulp. Finally, like any good fisher, it cleans off its beak. The kingfisher takes great care of its weapon of choice. Belted kingfishers aren't huge. At most, they can get up to 35 centimeters in length. And yet, they can catch fish larger than that. When they catch fish longer than themselves, they swallow half of it, while keeping the rest hanging out of their mouth. Once the gastric juices have done their magic and dissolved the first half, they swallow the rest. After all the good stuff has been digested, they regurgitate pellets with all the bones, claws, and other non-digestible material. The Queen of England might not be impressed with their manners, but we'll just have to see who wins that evolutionary battle. These pellets have a secondary purpose beyond making room for more fish meat. They're also great construction material.
Belted kingfishers are known to nest in banks and burrows. That's similar to what bank swallows do. What kingfishers do, though, is they dig a little burrow in the bank and then create it in an upward slope. In case the water levels rise too high and water gets in, the babies will be protected in a nice, comfy air pocket that the Kingfisher mama has built for it.
The egg chamber is lined with the bone pellets as a form of insulation. That's right, belted kingfishers line their burrows with the bones of their prey. It's the stinkiest nursery in the world. But it's surprisingly effective, and chicks become independent at just a month of age, starting out with catching small invertebrates and then moving on to catching fish on the shores of your local watering hole. Ah, seems like a nice life.
Today we're in Banff National Park, and we just found a whole herd of bighorn sheep. The breathtaking Rocky Mountains are one of the best habitats for the metalheads of the mountains, the bighorn sheep. These ungulates are one of the 2 native sheep species of North America. Both species are descendants of Asian sheep, who crossed the Bering Strait less than 1 million years ago. But while their closest relatives, the Dall sheep, stayed relatively close to home in the northwestern parts of the continent, the bighorn sheep took over the continent's mountain ranges, from British Columbia, Canada, to Baja California, Mexico. Bighorn sheep have been in North America for a long, long time. Back in the Pleistocene era, they crossed on the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia all the way to Alaska and dispersed all through North America, sticking around now mostly in the Rockies. And this is why we came here to look for them at Banff National Park. It didn't take long before we found the first group. Those little white butts over there are bighorn sheep. They're so cute! Looks like this herd is made up of at least 50 sheep, but only one of them seems to be an adult male. You can tell by those horns. The males are the ones with the big horns that roll all the way back around their head and forward again, but the female's horns are only about 30 centimeters long. Males are called rams and females are called ewes. The rams are bigger than the ewes and can get huge. An average healthy male can get to 150 kilograms, more than twice as heavy as the average human adult. Though in the Rocky Mountains, where we happen to be today, they can get even larger, with some getting to 250 kilograms, about as heavy as a large black bear. A big part of that weight is their horns. They can be up to 10% of their body weight. Combine that with their huge head and powerful neck, and you have one of the most top-heavy animals in the mountains. So we're happy to see them, but we won't get too close. Bighorn sheep are extremely social animals, and herds like this are called nursery groups, usually led by the oldest, most mature ewes, who spend all their time teaching the other females and their young how to get by as a sheep, finding the best food and the safest passage around. And there are very good reasons to get along. Their fights are brutal. When bighorns butt heads, the earth trembles. During the rut, rams battle for social status. When they see the battles on, they'll walk away from each other, like Alexander Hamilton and William Burr, and then turn around and charge each other. It's a real Western showdown. Rams can sprint at 35 kilometers an hour, and the collision between 2 large rams can have the same force as a motorcycle hitting a wall at 70 kilometers an hour. And all of that force gets funneled into the tip of the spear, their horns. A ram's horns grow continuously throughout their entire lives, slowing down during the winter and speeding up in the summer when food is more available. This creates rings called annuli. You can actually determine the age of a ram according to how many annuli you see on those horns. This isn't survivable for humans, so how do rams get away with hitting their heads repeatedly without having their skulls and brains turned into dust? Bighorn sheep have a series of adaptations to protect themselves from the long-term effects of repeated head trauma. The first one is their horns, which are made of keratin and a bony core. The keratin, the same material as your nails, is more flexible than bone and absorbs some of the impact.
The skull itself is also very thick and resistant to fractures. But the most important part is their brain. This is because upon impact, the brain hits the inside of the brain cavity. But bighorns prevent their brain from sloshing around with two main adaptations. The first one is their brains are slightly more snugly fit into their brain cavity, so there's slightly less shaking around. The second and most important one is that before the moment of impact, they send extra blood to the brain. This slightly inflates the blood vessels of the brain, creating something like bubble wrap to protect it even further. When they're not fighting, they're usually grazing as a group. These ungulates occupy a huge range, and their diet adapts to their environments. Grasses are an essential part of their diet in the northern part of their range, whereas in the dry hills of Mexico, they might resort to eating cacti, or whatever they can find on the hills.
Bighorn sheep are amazing climbers and are super well adapted to this rocky terrain. Their hooves are two-toed, and they have the hard exterior made of keratin, as well as a pad underneath that gives them better grip on those rocks.
One thing to keep in mind if you want to see them in the wild is they're not good at walking in snow. So in the colder months, they live on the eastern slopes of the mountains, which are usually drier. Predators also have a tougher time hunting in the slopes, and large rams are seldom targeted, but the young and the weak are often taken by the who's who of North American predators, such as bears, wolves, and eagles. I don't blame them for not trying to attack groups with multiple rams that could punt you into oblivion. Unfortunately, as we all know by now, living in huge groups has its downsides. The main one of them is that diseases spread quickly. Pneumonia is particularly deadly, and outbreaks sometimes kill up to 90% of a flock. More recently, a virus has been spreading throughout the Yellowstone bighorn population. This has caused an increase of an illness called sore mouth disease, which destroys the soft tissues inside their mouths. This disease is common among factory-farmed sheep, and though it's survivable, it can kill lambs and older sheep. Thankfully, bighorns are protected in large parts of their range, and their numbers have bounced up. There are still causes for concern, such as climate change and habitat destruction, but as long as we remain vigilant, these massive beauties are going to remain kings and queens of the hills.
Oreamnos americanus, also known as the Rocky Mountain goat, the snow goat, and the white goat, is known for living dangerously in subalpine and alpine regions of northwestern North America.
But before we go any further, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this week's video, Masterworks. Masterworks.io is the first platform that lets you invest in the same artwork that billionaires do for a fraction of the price they pay. And they know what they're doing. So far, they've sold 3 paintings, with each returning over 30% to investors, net of fees. And since art can actually benefit from inflation, your investment can appreciate over 20% in 1 year. Of course, past performance is no guarantee of future results, and you should consult with a financial advisor to see if this type of investment is right for you. We're big fans of the work our friends over at Masterworks are doing, and it's super easy to get started. In just a few clicks, you can create an account, browse the artwork, and diversify your portfolio with a socially responsible asset that has a low correlation to most major markets, so it isn't affected as much by external factors. You can gain priority access by clicking on the link in the description. Thanks, Masterworks! When Oreamnos harringtoni went extinct about 11,000 years ago, the mountain goat was left as the sole member of its genus. Despite their name, mountain goats are not actually true goats, since they don't belong to the genus Capra, along with wild and domestic goats.
The ancestors of the mountain goat are thought to have crossed the Bering Strait into North America during the last ice age. These ancestors seem to have evolved the ability to tiptoe along rock faces over 100,000 years ago.
The The mountain goat's skillful balancing act begins with their specialized hooves, which have evolved to provide them serious traction on rocky and icy slopes. Out here in the Yukon, if you're looking for mountain goats, you better look up. They've got hooves that can get them anywhere they want to be, climbing up steep cliff faces like it's no problem. Their hooves are cloven, meaning that they are split into two. The outside of their oversized hooves is rock hard, while the inner pad is both super tough and super flexible. Mountain goats can spread their hooves wide for better balance, with their rough pads working like rubber mountaineering boots for better traction. On the back of their hooves are two large dew claws, which they plant while descending to give them even more balance and control. Their low center of gravity also helps them keep steady while navigating their rocky home terrain. Yeah, these mountain goats are looking down at us like, what? Can't you get up here? What's your problem? And they're right, I can't. While mountain goats do spend time on alpine meadows and plateaus, they rarely venture more than half a kilometer away from cliffs and rock faces in case they need to make a quick getaway. Within just a couple days of birth, kids are already able to follow their mothers up, down, and all around their rocky habitat. These mountain goats have this ability to climb that almost seems supernatural. They don't look like super agile animals, but you'd be surprised at just how steep of a cliff they can just hop on up. They may be short and stocky at about 1 meter tall, but these muscle-bound powerhouses have shoulder and foreleg muscles that propel them up to 3.5 meters in a single bound.
That's about the same distance as the current world record for standing broad jump.
All mountain goats, both the females known as nannies and the males known as billies, are crowned with two sharp black horns, which they use for both defense and intimidation. These pointed puffballs are wrapped in woolly, white, double-layer coats that keep them cozy in the winter and which they shed once a year in the summer.
Mountain goats are also built for these cold climates. Even their color helps them evade predation because living on top of these mountains means that they blend in just perfectly with the snowy ice caps. Mountain goats do stay white all year round. The main difference is that during the summer, they have a much thinner, lighter coat. In the winter, they bulk up that fluff and get super duper floofy.
During the summer months, mountain goat nannies gather to form nursery groups of up to 100 individuals. These matriarchal groups have a very strict social hierarchy. The older you are as a mountain goat nanny, the more clout you've got. Nannies show their dominance in a variety of ways, from death stares all the way up to outright duels. Mountain goats are among the most aggressive animals within their family, with nannies taking the cake as the most hostile of them all.
If you're another mountain goat, you don't want to cross a crabby nanny. During the rut, billies have to tread very lightly, and not just because they live on steep cliffs.
Nannies are particularly aggressive towards billies during courtship. To avoid getting seriously injured, males can only approach females when the females are in heat and only with a slow and submissive stance to avoid getting skewered by her sharp horns.
Unlike other goats, mountain goats don't try and ram heads during their fights for dominance. Instead, they'll try and stab each other with their horns. Yikes.
Despite their Hulk levels of aggression, these fights to the death are actually relatively rare.
It's just wild to think that these mountain goats will challenge each other up on top of mountains. I don't know if I'd ever risk that. The chances of falling from way up there are a little too high for me.
Predators too need to watch out for the razor-sharp horns of the mountain goat.
Earlier this year in British Columbia, the carcass of a grizzly bear was discovered with stab wounds in its armpit and neck. The murder weapon? The long dagger-like horns of a mountain goat. Metal.
Along with grizzlies, other predators like wolves, coyotes, golden eagles, wolverines, and mountain lions are responsible for the deaths of many a mountain goat. Another common cause of mountain goat mortality is starvation.
Kids commonly die of starvation during harsh winters, and older individuals will often die of starvation once their teeth have worn away from a lifetime of chomping on hard vegetation. Their ability to climb and live in areas where they won't be followed may give them an edge against predators, but it also puts them squarely in the path of other dangers. Mountain goats often die from accidental falls, avalanches, rock slides, and even being struck by lightning. And yet, despite all the perils, these ungulate rock climbers continue to thrive in some of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Living dangerously definitely summarizes the high-stakes life of the mountain goat.
Giant sequoias are huge. They live for thousands of years, and they've evolved to withstand forest fires. Depending on your definition, they are the largest things to ever live. We're gonna need to take a minute to understand just how massive these things are.
The tallest giant sequoias get to around 90 meters tall. That's about as tall as 3 blue whales stacked up head to tail, or about the same height as the Statue of Liberty.
But their real claim to fame is their mass. They're the heaviest of all trees, and most importantly, the thickest.
These trees are so massive that individual trees get names and are almost like celebrities.
These are the Harambes and Cecil the lions of the plant world.
A thick giant sequoia named General Grant holds the record for largest diameter at 8.8 meters. A triceratops playing hide and seek could comfortably hide behind this tree. But the record for the most massive tree on Earth belongs to its cousin, General Sherman, which, with a diameter of 7.7 meters and a height of 84 meters, claims the undisputed heavyweight title. The tree is estimated to weigh over 2,000 tons, or about 400 big ol' elephants.
Getting that big takes a while, like a couple thousand years. In fact, some of the oldest giant sequoias were already about 1,000 years old when the Roman Empire was founded.
There have been reports of giant sequoias with over 4,000 rings. But unfortunately, they were from tree stumps, back when these trees were being logged heavily. As a side note, the only tree species that routinely lives longer than the giant sequoias are the Great Basin bristlecone pines, with some individuals confirmed to be close to 5,000 years old. The oldest living tree in the world is a bristlecone pine called Methuselah. Its location is a secret. All we know is that it's somewhere in the ancient bristlecone pine forest in California.
There must be something in the water in California, because wild giant sequoias are also only found there, though it wasn't always like that.
During the last ice age, giant sequoias were common across North America and Europe. But as the glaciers receded and the climate changed, their range receded. Then, when European loggers got to California, with their gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, and burning, the sequoias were decimated once again. Luckily for them, the wood is relatively brittle, and since they're so wide, cutting them down was a huge hassle.
And so, it was more efficient for most logging companies to focus on other trees.
Additionally, most people recognize their majesty and importance, and most of their current range has been protected since the early 20th century.
The bad news is there's only 81 groves left in the wild.
All of them are found in the western slope of the Sierra Nevada range of California, and they're considered an endangered species.
You might be wondering, why doesn't the giant sequoia, the biggest of all the trees, just eat all the other trees?
Well, they might be the most badass trees in the world, but they are kind of needy. They like to live in humid climates, ideally in mountains at altitudes between 1,000 and 2,000 meters. At lower altitudes, they become susceptible to fungus and parasites. They also require lots of nutrients from the soil, so they rely on forest fires to kill the competition.
Because, like the mother of dragons, the giant sequoias are well equipped to withstand fire.
They even drop their seeds immediately after a fire. as it's the perfect time for a seedling to grow without other plants vying for their resources. And lastly, they need a lot of water, so they can only grow naturally near streams and other bodies of water.
Even if you plant them at home and take care of them, unless they're in the right conditions, they might not produce cones, and they won't be able to reproduce.
Well, that doesn't mean people haven't tried. Since the 1860s, people have been falling in love with their big trunk energy and have tried to grow them elsewhere. The countries with the most giant sequoias outside of the US are Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and France. Some of these places already have trees that are over 150 years old. The largest of them is in France and is already about 60 meters tall.
But if you want to see the OG giant sequoias, you still have to go to California. And while you're at it, you can visit their oldest living relatives, the coastal redwood.
Along with their cousin, the Dawn redwood, they're collectively called simply the redwoods, and they're part of the cypress family. They each belong to different genera, but all their genus names make reference to the word sequoia. It's thought that they were named after Sequoia, the creator of the Cherokee language writing system.
Of the two, the most impressive is the coastal redwood. It's not as thick as the giant sequoia, but it can be even taller.
The tallest trees in the world are all coastal redwoods. Hyperion, the tallest known tree, is over 115 meters tall. That's more than a blue whale taller than General Sherman.
Luckily, they don't compete with each other because they've adapted to live at different altitudes.
Coastal redwoods usually live close to the coast, at elevations under 750 meters. The third redwood, the Dawn redwood, is native to China and only gets about 35 meters. But due to its beauty, it's been exported and is now common across the US and the UK.
So if you're close to California and it's safe to travel, go visit Hyperion, the two generals, and all of the amazingly huge redwoods. Just a word of caution, it will make you feel very, very small. Oh, and watch out for scout troopers.
Recently, we've been talking about plants and fungi that do weird things to reproduce. From stinky flowers that attract flies to pollinate them, to weeds that collapse into a ball and drop their seeds as they roll along.
Oh, my car.
Today's plant takes a slightly more stabby approach. Jumping cholla is the name, ruining your hikes is the game.
This cactus from the American Southwest and the Mexican Sonoran Desert looks like your average cactus. It has a woody trunk that can grow up to 4 meters tall, which is fairly tall for a cactus. Its stems are cylindrical and covered in sharp spines. The spines grow in such density that from a distance, the plant looks fuzzy. Its relative, the teddy bear cholla, is even more dense and resembles a furry animal.
And just like with an actual wild bear, it's best to stay as far away as possible. Those spines are there for more than just protection.
Although they do flower and make fruits with seeds, it's these prickly stems that have helped them thrive in their ecosystem. The cholla grows in segments, and when something brushes up against them, their highly barbed spines stick in, and a segment of the cholla breaks off and travels along with whatever touched them.
This is kind of like the beauty of it. It's so strong, like the edge is serrated. It requires like 100 times more force to get out than to get in.
They break and attach themselves so easily that they give the impression that they've actually jumped on you.
And that's where they get their name.
While they may look smooth, the spines are lined with rows and rows of backwards-facing, microscopic barbs. Not only that, but the spines swell when they stick into a host, absorbing moisture from the host's flesh. So it takes a lot of force to take them out. And when you do, the hooks and barbs rip skin and muscle tissue, making the whole ordeal incredibly painful.
Ouch. How's it feel? Like I've been stabbed by a cactus in the hand. Ow! Actually, it hurts a lot. Jesus Christ.
Animals like javelinas can carry them for several kilometers, and hikers have reported catching cholla on their clothes and not realizing till much, much later.
But once the stem is removed and it lands on the ground, it starts growing. This new plant will be a clone of its parent.
As the stem grows older, it hardens into a woody branch and the spines fall off.
Fruits grow at the ends of the branches in clusters. Year after year, more fruits will be added to the cluster, giving the ends a chain-like appearance. In some parts of their range, these plants are known as the hanging chain cholla.
Like other cacti, this species can hold a lot of water. Some animals, like the Bighorn sheep, have learned to deal with the spines just to get to the juicy stems.
Rams, especially, are very effective at using their horns to remove the spines. Barrel cacti are another common meal. So altogether, cacti represent a nice oasis for thirsty animals in the desert. The Sonoran Desert can go for months without rain, so every little bit of moisture is appreciated, even if it's a jabby hassle to get it.
We unfortunately don't have the horns to do that ourselves. So if you ever happen to touch a jumping cholla, this is what you should do.
Try not to touch it directly with your hands or put it close to your face. The stems can easily get stuck in another spot, like when you're trying to remove a piece of tape and it keeps getting glued to your other hand.
Okay, this is the jumping cholla part. See that?
Yeah.
Just 2 steps and like the whole thing just comes off.
A useful tool to get them out is a comb, which you can use to remove the stem. If the spines are still in, try using a nose plier. It'll hurt, but it'll get the job done.
Alternatively, you could just avoid going to the desert altogether. It's a very weird place. No, I'm just kidding. I'm super excited to go to the desert, check out some Gila monsters, some crazy cacti, all that stuff.
Ow!
Native to the Americas, armadillos are the only surviving members of the Cingulata order, and their closest extant relatives are sloths and anteaters.
There are 21 extant species of armadillo, the vast majority of which can only be found in South America. 2 species can be found in Central America, and just a single species, the 9-banded armadillo, has made its way up into North America. Armadillos range in size from the adorable pink fairy armadillo, which only measures 15 centimeters in length, to the giant armadillo, which, as its name suggests, is quite large and can measure up to 1.5 meters in length, including its tail. They are part of the Xenarthra superorder, and like their anteater cousins, their diet is made up primarily of invertebrates, with some species specializing in ants and termites.
Species like the 9-banded armadillo will even eat carrion if they have to.
In order to extract said ants and termites from their various mounds and hills, they have long, powerful claws. In addition to this, they have long, sticky tongues, which they use to pick up ants, termites, and other small invertebrates.
The various species of armadillo are most commonly described by the number of bands that they have in their armor.
These bands are attached to one another with flexible tissue, and the more bands an armadillo has, the more flexible they are.
Though it does come at a cost: security.
The South American 3-banded armadillo is the only species of armadillo able to roll up into a ball to protect their soft underbellies. When attacked, every other species prefers to run and hide, rather than relying on their armor as their first line of defense.
As their last line of defense, armadillos will use their long, sharp claws.
Their iconic armor is made of dermal bone plates, which are covered with little scale-like bones called scutes. Armadillos are susceptible to leprosy due to their low body temperature, which, incidentally, is the same as human skin, 34 degrees Celsius. Because of this, armadillos are vectors for the disease. In fact, leprosy didn't exist in the Americas before the Europeans got here, meaning that armadillos got leprosy from humans, and now they're giving it back to us. In the southern states, at county fairs, it's not uncommon to see an armadillo race. They're not great. The handling of armadillos at these less-than-okay races and in other human-armadillo interactions has seen a rise in leprosy being transmitted to humans.
We Weeks ahead of time, the armadillos get in shape for the race at secret training camps. We were permitted to see just a few of the vigorous exercises and top secret training techniques.
Many species of armadillo are quite decent in the water. They can either hold their breath and walk along the bottom, or some species, like the 9-banded armadillo, will swallow a bunch of air and become buoyant. This fills their stomach and intestines, and it makes swimming much easier for them. 9-banded armadillos also